I'm a little rusty on it.
I'll hum it for you.
Oh, it should be working. Yeah. Okay, there we go. Oh, this cord is like, what the frick? Okay. You know, it's funny. There we go. All right. How is everyone doing? Oh, I need to adjust my volume again. Okay, let's see. That looks good. That looks good. Yeah, that looks good. All right. Oh wait, let me not do it with a voice. That's okay. That looks all right to me. Hello. So I know Friday. Well, not Friday. Sorry. We didn't have a show last Thursday, and then there we go. That's better. And then we didn't have a show on Monday because I wasn't feeling well, and Tuesday my head was super foggy and. I mean, we did the show, but certainly, it would have been better if, again, my head wasn't so foggy. But it's now Thursday again, and we're an hour. Well, maybe not an hour. We are early today, about 20, 40 minutes early or so. Yeah. So, how's everyone doing? Let's do the intro really quickly. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you might be watching this. My name is Josh, and welcome to my channel. On here, we talk news, politics, and I move the camera down a little bit more. That's better. News, politics, and that won't move that around. Current events, such as me moving that down a bit, and maybe I'll move this up just slightly. That's okay. That feels good. Had to kind of change things around when I took everything apart to go record an offline segment. So we have some, and I know, if you clicked on this, you probably already know, we have some breaking news. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, Donald Trump, as of 5:30-ish this afternoon in the state of New York City, has been indicted by a grand jury on, election, taxes and, election, campaign finance violations. So this is not the case in Georgia, where he is being investigated for election interference, that is different. But for now, we have him. It seems to be indicted on those campaign finance charges. So let's just jump into it, shall we? I think we should just jump right into it. Let's fricking go. Even more music. This is from AP. All right, let's get it.
I'm Mike Balsamo. I'm the U.S. law enforcement editor for the Associated Press, and we have breaking news. Former President Donald Trump has been indicted by a grand jury in New York City in a hush money scheme in which it's alleged he paid money to women who claim they had extramarital sexual encounters with him. This is an unprecedented moment in history. It is the first time a criminal charge has been brought against a former U.S. president. This case goes back to the 2016 presidential election when it's alleged that Donald Trump and his allies paid hush money to porn actress Stormy Daniels in connection with her allegations that she had an extramarital affair with
did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Cohen made a $130,000 payment.
God damn.
Quiet about the alleged encounter. This is significant because it's the first time Donald Trump faces criminal charges in connection with investigations into his conduct. Those investigations shadowed his presidency through 2016 and beyond, and he faces increasing legal scrutiny in several other investigations, including one being conducted by the district attorney in Fulton County, Georgia, and a separate Justice Department investigation being led by a special counsel looking at his detention of classified records at his home in Mar-a-Lago in Florida and his efforts to overturn the 2020 presidential election. This situation is still developing, and we'll continue to learn more in the coming days, weeks, and months.
Man, what a fucking murderer's row. Anyway, all right. We'll deal with that next. But yeah, so Trump's been indicted. Okay, so let's, celebration aside, we're not gonna play the Bin Laden sound clip. We're not gonna play that, not yet. But let's talk about this really quickly, and then we're just gonna have a little fun for a few minutes, and then we'll get into the normal topics for the day. But let's talk about this. So this is pretty historic, not in the sense that a president has never broken the law, but we are seeing for the first time a former president of the United States being indicted on crimes. This is pretty unprecedented. As far as I'm personally concerned, equal justice under the law. I don't give a fuck if you were or want to be president in the future. Sorry, tough shit. Rip Bozo. I don't know what to tell you, man. You break the, you don't want to do the time, then maybe don't do the crime. That all being said, though, let's take a deep breath here. Yeah, fun and all. The name of the stream is the name of the stream. I like antagonizing people. But, so here's the question. What does this actually mean? Well, this means kind of a few things. For one, I just realized my window isn't open, which means it's going to get really freaking hot back here. Okay, we're going to do this first. A good look at my armpit. That's okay. That'll be better in like 20 minutes when it's super warm in here. What was I saying? Okay, so to start off, let's go with how far do I think this is going to go? Well, I don't know. I don't really have an idea. Again, this is pretty unprecedented. Not really sure how far this is going to go. This might make it. This made it past the grand jury. This might make it to a judge. They might throw it out for all we know. This might make it to actual court, in which case we'll kind of see what happens. So like it's kind of unclear where this goes, but what exactly does it mean, right? And pretty much, this is going to have, at least in my opinion, large implications on the 2024 presidential race. I believe I said it before that being arrested, getting a mugshot, getting his what's the word I'm looking for? Getting his sorry, I'm just checking something. Getting his, I'm sorry, I'm reading, trying to see everything that's going on. Getting his, getting his fingerprints taken, getting his mugshot taken, all of this. Hey, all of this is going to, at least in my opinion, bolster his support within the Republican Party for their upcoming presidential primary. I think this is, in terms of politics, good for Trump, bad for DeSantis, not great for the country. That being said, I also, I say bad for the country in the sense that this will drive certain voters to, martyrize Donald Trump, to turn him into a martyr, a symbol for the treatment that they think that they've gotten from, mainstream media or, liberals in general, right? Like that's going to be their big thing going forward, right? Is speaking to that kind of I do think the kind of class the class war that we all kind of know goes on here on the left. We have an understanding that there is a class war going on. There are deep class divisions and contradictions to the way that this country is run. It's not run for everybody. It's run for business owners, specifically large business owners, and wealthy individuals. That's who this country is run by and for, while the rest of us just kind of live in it and react to all of the rules being changed against us and for them, right? And Trump supporters all recognize this. But what they've done, unfortunately, is graft that anxiety onto an avatar, one that is utterly unsophisticated and not very self-aware, because Trump is not, and let's be clear, Trump is not the average man. Trump is not your conservative neighbor who, is a plumber. He's not a railway worker. He's not a food service worker. He's not a cook on the line. He's not any of these things. He, like a lot of the people who run this country, is an elite. He's at the top of our society, a self-proclaimed billionaire, which is, I believe, actually been disproved, but regardless, he's in those circles. He's a millionaire, at the very least, very popular on TV. He's a one percenter, let's be honest here. And this is unfortunately the person who Republican voters have tied their identity to, have tied their faith to, is a guy who doesn't share their class struggles, doesn't share their class interests. No, this is a guy who has consistently taken money from these people, from average workers, from average people, from, quite frankly, also very, very poor Americans, and done fuck all with it. Just simply gone out and golfed, lined his pockets, and clearly paid off some porn star that he slept with, allegedly, to keep his extramarital affairs under wraps. Now, again, like, what does this mean? We'll kind of see going forward. But I do think in terms of politics, this is wonderful for Trump. Does he like it? Probably not. I get the sense that he's not a big fan of this. But he's not, he's certainly not, he's not appreciative of the possibility of walking anywhere with cuffs on, which probably won't happen anyway. Be thrown out quickly, brags the Soros hack. I see we've, one of those conservatives that I mentioned is here. Is the indictment trash? Well, a grand jury decided that. It might be thrown out quickly. Who knows? And I don't understand the Soros bit. Cottonmouth, if you can tell me what the Soros line is about, if you can substantiate that for me, so that it's not just a reference to a famous a Jewish billionaire. If you're just being anti-Semitic, you can just say you're being anti-Semitic. But if not, go ahead and substantiate that for me, because I'm not sure where that comes from. But either way, all of that aside, going forward, what's going to happen? He'll probably show up. It seems like he's making agreements to come in and go through the entire, indictment process and everything else. And like in Dave Chappelle's, two-tier justice system sketch, Law and Order sketch from God, when was that? 2005. You know, he's probably going to call in, you know, kind of decide when a good time would be for him to come in, get his pictures taken, get his fingerprints taken. It's going to be a rather comfortable experience for him, I suspect. But yeah, either way should be fun. Now, the other half of this. So the other half of this we have to talk about is kind of the reaction to this, right? Because I said this is going to be great for the country. And the reason for that is because there are going to be people that are going to get wrapped up emotionally into this. Like, it's going to be such a big part of kind of their identity and their approach to electoral politics, to the way that we run this country, right? And we're kind of already seeing a little bit of that. You know, we've got where's the is it on breaking news? There used to be like a Trump what's it called? Did we get rid of did Elon get rid of it? I wouldn't be super shocked if he did, but there used to be the indictment. Oh yeah, E3's dead. Is it Alvin Bragg? Let's see if it's under Alvin Bragg. Oh, felony? Oh man, man, Twitter is Yep. Okay, let's see. Felony obstruction of official proceeding. Oh yeah, this is for the Atlanta one. Oh no, this is, I don't know what this is. I don't know what's going on. Oh, I love it. Man, this is a pretty decent Photoshop job. I don't know if no, I want to see, because I know they had like a did they really fucking nuke the indictment? Fucking indictment. Yeah, this was like trending like right before I got on. I've been waiting for yeah. Oh man, yeah. Message for whoa. Is this it? Trump 24 statement. Ooh, I haven't read this. Okay, let's see. Can I, if I zoom in, actually, let's just do this. Open this. Oh my god, that's big. Okay, that's what she said. Let's see. Let's zoom out a bit. Let's see, because it's okay. So March 30th. Oh no, that is March 30th. Okay, cool. Statement by Donald J. Trump, 45th President of the United States of America. This is political persecution and election interference at the highest level in history. From the time I came down the golden escalator. Again, let's remember, who is the man of the people to Republican voters? The guy who came down a golden fucking escalator. That's the guy who's man of the people, Donald Trump. Golden escalator, golden toilet, you know, born with a fucking silver spoon in his ass. Like, this is your guys' savior, apparently. From the time I came down the golden escalator at Trump Tower, and even before I was sworn in as president of the United States, the radical left Democrats, trust me, there's not that many. The enemy of the hardworking men and women of this country have been engaged in a witch hunt to destroy the Make America Great Again movement. You remember it just like I do. Russia, the Mueller hoax, Ukraine, impeachment hoax number 1, impeachment hoax number 2, the illegal and unconstitutional Mar-a-Lago raid, and now this. Okay, do I need to go over all of this? So, Russia. I'm assuming he's talking about Russia Gate, to which, if I remember correctly, there are people who are right now serving time for that whole communication between the Trump campaign and Russian intelligence officials. Trump had nothing to do with that. It doesn't seem like, at the very least, there was any direct connection, but it was his campaign. The Mueller hoax, I actually don't remember which one the Mueller hoax was. I know the Ukraine one was him holding up aid to Ukraine because he wanted them to do do some kind of oppo research on Joe Biden. So again, I don't think anybody went to jail for that, but that was a pretty impeachment number 1. Oh yeah, didn't they like impeach him for that or some shit? Honest to God, man, the fucking Trump years are like a haze to me. Impeachment number 2 is for Jan 6, right, and unconstitutional Mar-a-Lago raid. Trust me, pal, there's never been a raid more organized and more perfectly legal than that one. If you would have just given up the documents, would have been fine. But anyway, the Democrats have lied, cheated, and stolen. I don't know. Should I do the voice? I don't need to do the voice. As stolen in their opposition with trying to get Trump. But now they've done the unthinkable, indicting a completely innocent person in an act of blatant election interference. Now, mind you, what about this is election interference? What about this has anything to do with elections? I'll wait. Yeah, it doesn't, does it? Mainly because, and let's be really frank here, this has nothing to do with elections. If you broke the law, then yeah, you are subject to the same processes. You should be, or at the very least, you should be, held to the same processes, the same treatment that all Americans get, regardless of whether you would like to run for an office, presidential or otherwise. No, break the law, then get ready to have your campaign be kind of set aside for a few weeks, possibly, while you handle your legal issues. Maybe don't commit tax fraud. Don't commit campaign finance fraud, and you'll be all right. Never before in our nation's history has this been done. This is true. Democrats have cheated countless times over the decades. Show me evidence, including spying on my campaign. Wasn't that Watergate? Weaponizing our justice system to punish a political opponent who just so happens to be a president of the United States and by far the leading Republican candidate for the president. Has never happened before. Is that one sentence? The Democrats have cheated countless times over the decades, including spying on my campaign, but weaponizing our justice system to punish a political opponent who just so happens to be the president of the United States and by far the leading Republican candidate for president has never been. Oh my God, Jesus, dude, learn to fucking goddamn, fucking Republicans, learn how to English, idiots. Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg, who was handpicked and funded by George Soros. Again, I would really love to see some evidence of this. Is a disgrace. I'll do the fine. Rather than stopping an unprecedented crime wave taking over New York City, he's doing Joe Biden's dirty work, ignoring the murderers and burglaries and assaults he should be focused on. This is how Bragg spends his time. I never understand this when they're like, there are other crimes happening. Why am I getting indicted? If that, yeah. The murderer asked, tears in his eyes, but sir, there's rapists on the streets. Why me? Like, you broke the law, bud. I don't know what to tell you. Like, I believe this witch hunt will backfire massively on Joe Biden. Actually, this is the part I fully agree on. The American people realize exactly what the radical left Democrats are doing here. Everyone can see it. So our movement and our party, united and strong, will first defeat Alvin Bragg, and then we will defeat Joe Biden. And we are going to throw every last one of these crooked Democrats out of office so we can make America great again. Okay. Took a little bit of extra energy there to do the voice. Okay, so obviously Trump's been mauling, which, that's kind of one of those things where, let's be honest here. Yeah, no shit. Trump is always going to maul, and, he is a bit right here in the sense that there is going to be, there's going to be some pushback. He's going to win the primary. You could not convince me. If he's allowed, of course, this all stems from if he's allowed to participate in a primary, he's going to win that primary. There's no argument. There's nothing about that. You could not convince me otherwise. Now, if he's like, in jail, I don't think, he could conceivably run from prison, from a cell. That won't work though. Because here's the thing. Here's the thing we need to remember. Donald Trump is not incredibly popular in terms of his appeal to independents, especially not since the nonsense that went on January 6th. So, the Republican Party certainly does not want him indicted, and they've been going hard hard in the paint to make sure, or at the very least to signal that they do not want him to be, investigated, indicted, prosecuted, any of it, because they know that with the martyrdom of Donald Trump, they lose their party. Their party is gone. The Republican Party, the party of Lincoln, the party of even Bush era neocons is over. And I think that's what we're looking at right now. It's done. They either are on the Trump train or they're not. Their voters, I don't think, will come with them. And certainly it's going to be hard going forward to win, at the very least, presidential elections, let alone federal elections, for even Senate and, Congress will be a little bit easier still. But even like your senatorial races are going to be a lot harder for Republicans when the top of their party is Donald Trump, who's acting like a damn madman. And somebody who's now, been indicted on campaign finance laws and might be indicted on election interference laws down in Georgia. So, we're looking at somebody who might not be capable of running, but nonetheless, the party will be tied to this person, meaning Trump's going to pull that entire party underwater with him. Again, this is not, obviously this isn't, set in stone. It really depends on how far this goes. If it goes to trial, if it doesn't go to trial, if whatever comes of it. But yeah, either way, certainly this is going to be a big moment. This is going to be important going forward. That being said, I want to be a little content goblin. And, well, first I'm going to blow my nose really quickly. And now, let's see, should we, oh dear God. Okay, where do we even start? I don't use, oh man, okay. I don't use TikTok, but again, I'm gonna be a bit of a content goblin here. Let's take a look. I want to know how.
It's too vague.
Donald Trump did do this. Should he be held accountable?
That's too vague of a statement. I believe in the law and equal justice. What I think you're referring to is that his lawyer gave her some money to not say anything.
So that he could win the election.
Yeah. Or.
So keep in mind, that's not the part that's illegal. Like the part where you pay somebody to not speak on a topic, to not speak on a topic, to not come out. That's not illegal. That is, that's a thing that's part of our legal system. There's nothing illegal about that. Even if it's about elections, still not illegal. What is illegal is when your campaign, you take money out of your campaign to pay your personal legal fees. Meaning that like Trump paid this money out of his, basically you have to think about it. Donald Trump and the Trump campaign are two different entities. They file different taxes. And with that, whenever they file taxes for expenses, you need to give the reasoning as to why this or that expense came up. To which Donald Trump decided, I'm going to pay this money out of my, my pocket, but then I'm going to pay myself through the campaign's funds that we're bringing in to recoup that cost. And that and because that wasn't part of the campaign's actual like fundraising, or like this specific payment wasn't part of that organization, that is illegal in New York State and illegal in terms of a federal campaign finance laws. And again, I think I said this when the announcement came out a little bit ago. This could have all been solved if he just paid it through his fucking own bank account and taken the hit himself. and maybe funneled the money out later. But his dumbass decided, oh no, I'm going to use campaign funds to pay this hush money for my own personal use, and, you know, get clapped up by investigators. Like, it's just like, you fool, you idiot, you dullard, you utter buffoon. Okay, so I can't help but wonder what is, oh boy.
Multiple sources are now reporting the former president has indeed been indicted by that Manhattan grand jury.
All right, so not to be not to make too many assumptions, but what do we think this person's tenor and take is going to be on this? I'm a bit I'm being unfair by clicking on this, because somebody who does their hair like this, wears this, and has all this, I don't know.
We don't know what the charges are yet. Those are still under seal, and we have not yet officially heard from the district attorney. Multiple sources are now Former President Trump just issued a very lengthy statement after the Manhattan grand jury indicted him on criminal charges. So let's go through that statement. He starts by saying this is political persecution. Then he goes into sort of the list of all.
Is this what TikTok content looks like? I don't use TikTok because I'm too old, I think. There's like every time I think about using it, I can feel like time racing through my veins. But man, I don't.
That he has called, which
a lot of the green screen stuff I noticed.
Into the election, both of his impeachment trials, the search of Mar-a-Lago.
This is true. These are all true things.
Now this. Then he goes into the Democrats and.
No, we already read this. I want to see how people are reacting to this. What is this? Listen to Pod. That's Pod Save America. God damn it! I'm such a leftist. They're just like, hey, you want to? Let me guess. You want. No. I want no. Give me the people who are reacting negatively. Red Sea Fair. Oh, what the hell is happening here?
When you see your enemy reach its highest level of desperation, that is an indicator that their fall is about to happen.
Oh yeah.
Welcome to the Red Sea.
Welcome to the Red Sea. Oh yeah, just give it to me. Just give it to me. Fucking inject it into my veins. Where's? Give me all your takes. Give me all the takes. Who's a good one? What's this? Senior toy? No. ETF nominee. Oh man, what is this? Hi, I want to offer. Oh, it's another one of you people, and I do say that derogatory about these accounts. Why Trump is? Yeah, probably because he shows up, unlike other idiots.
Very good. He's better than I am. How are you? Look at this guy.
It's a lot better, folks. We're doing some beautiful things.
Oh my God,
He's a big dude.
That's a disturbing.
So, thank you so much, folks. This guy's a legend. He gave me a beautiful hat, and he's a fantastic guy. Thank you, sir. My honor. I
wonder how Trump feels about getting an impression. I bet he really likes the impressions. God damn.
When you see.
Naturally. The Red Sea. Yeah, I want. Yeah.
Reach its highest level of depth.
You know what is this? Is this the one? Is this what? Oh no.
Real women vote Trump.
Oh, that hurt. Oh man, I think I died a little bit. Oh Jesus, what is this? Oh, oof. What is this?
So what did President Trump say to me when we shook hands? The answer.
I don't care. How about that? How about I don't care? God damn. Man, how much sourcing does Haas have to fucking do to like because my man's fucking TikTok timeline has to be fucking garbage. Considering all the like supercuts I've seen of him. Ugh, man. I don't even know what to click on. Like, how do you know what to even click on this damn site? Oh boy, what's happening here?
Oh no. Do you smell that? They're coming.
What's happening? What's happening?
Be gone, thoughts. Go away.
What's happening? I feel like all of this is also fucking what's it called? Why am I talking about rappers? I'm so confused. Oh man. Okay. I'm not gonna look through this anymore. I thought this would be easier, but unfortunately, it's not. Mainly because I don't use TikTok. That could be a part of it. But I was kind of curious because I want to see what everyone, because I know people were freaking out on Twitter about it. Oh wait, I know. Let's see. Let's see. What's Ben's take on this? Let's take a look. Facts don't care. Yes, the classic. Let's see. 57. This is nonsense. Skeletons can be retained. Ann Coulter. Oh, what's Ann Coulter got to say? They're trying to make him the nominee. Would they do that because they think he'd be tough to beat or easy to beat? Grand jury. Oh, okay. They're trying to make him our nominee. Yeah. Well, wait. First of all, let's be really clear here, Ann. Let's be very clear here, Ann. Obviously, he'd be easier to beat since independents are going to be rather disinterested in Trump if he's got like felony charges. I certainly don't think that's an unreasonable take. Oh man, let's see. Of course, the reason none of this bothers Brett. Let's see. AG case is by far the weakest on the Trump faces. Oh yeah, of course. Oh no, they're making a Kevin Sorbo movie. Oh god. Oh no, that's not Kevin Sorbo. It just looks like Kevin Sorbo. It's a guy named Jonathan Pragau. Okay, that's fine. Whole generation, I don't care. Ay. Yeah, it's gonna be 34 counts. What the fuck is 30? What is? Oh, Ron is reporting that CNN and Trump will be charged with. Oh, what's this?
Falsification. And I am told by my sources that this is 34 counts of
Jesus
of business records, which is probably a lot of charges involving each document, each thing that was submitted as a separate count.
Oh Jesus!
In a couple of matters. And
34. Woof. There's more than just a stormy day. Yeah. Oh man. Oh yeah, does DeSantis have a statement out yet? What a meatball. 2 hours ago, the weaponization of the legal system to advance a political agenda turns the rule of law on its head. It is un-American. The Soros-backed, again, they keep saying this. The Soros-backed Manhattan District Attorney has consistently bent the law consistently bent the law to downgrade felonies and to excuse criminal misconduct. Yet now he is stretching the law to target a political opponent. Florida will not assist in an extradition request given the questionable circumstances at issue with the Soros-backed. Seriously, you guys, saying Soros-backed doesn't actually mean anything besides I'm anti-Semitic. Manhattan prosecutor and his political agenda. I would love to hear, like, they're always like, hey, the weaponization of the legal system, i.e. the fair implementation and process of our legal system, who just, like, do you notice, like, they only trot this out whenever it's, like, rich and powerful people get arrested for doing something illegal, and then suddenly it's like, can you believe this justice system is being weaponized against people who break the law? Can you believe this? Like, oh man, I mean, I don't think, I don't think Florida has to do anything. Like they can just go down and extradite him regardless. I don't think it's, Florida doesn't like put up a wall of cops in front of Mar-a-Lago and then go like, all right, you're not getting past. You can't take him. They're just not going to help, which doesn't really matter. I mean, certainly he wants to keep Trump safe.
GOP presidential. Okay, we might not see a court proceeding until we are nearer and nearer to the 2024 GOP presidential race. I know you're a fan of both former President Trump and Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. And though he's not officially said that he's running, there has been a lot of comparisons to the two men. He's now catching flack from Trump backers for seemingly taking a jab at Mr. Trump and all of the details surrounding this, some could say lurid case. What are your thoughts on that?
Lurid.
Well, if I were governor...
Again, let's keep in mind, the case has nothing to do with the actual person. It's just he misused campaign finance funds.
Of Florida, I would not allow any Floridian to be hauled before some Soros-backed prosecutor.
That's not how that works.
Over politics, and I wouldn't make an exception to not protect the president of the United States. Ron DeSantis,
not the president, former president.
Reach to stop any sort of extradition of
Will he, though?
From the state of Florida, and the fact that he's not doing so puts every Floridian at risk who could be the subject of a false allegation.
Imagine. So this is, keep in mind, this is also how they've, like, this is how Republicans, specifically the party, kind of operates in terms of how they communicate and relate to their audience, because Republican Party officials know that what they want to do, like part of the kind of plan or the way that they communicate and relate to their voters is by basically implicating their voters with them, saying like, well, look, I'm in Florida, I broke the law in New York. You can't let them take me if I'm in Florida for a crime I broke in New York. What if they come and try to take you for the crime that you committed in New York? To which somebody has to ask, like, wait a minute. If you're a Republican Party voter, did you commit a crime? I don't, most of you didn't. Did you break any laws in another state? Do you think that people should be able to flee to these, Republican-led states to seek asylum from law breaking they've done in blue states? Do you think the opposite should be true? Should be something we have in our system, that Florida should build the wall around itself, that Ron DeSantis should send out Florida SWAT, Florida whatever, to guard Trump and Mar-a-Lago, make sure that the FBI or, New York, whoever comes to extradite him to where he's broken the law, like, is that how this should work? And the question then becomes, cool, so you can break the law in one state and just flee to another state, and if you're ideologically aligned with the person that's in charge of that state, should you get to walk free of those charges, walk free of that wrongdoing? That is the argument they're making here, and it's the argument, it's the framing that they're giving their audience, that their audience is somehow going to be, that New York police are going to kick in your door in rural Alabama and take your ass to New York to charge you for whatever, for, I don't know, being conservative. That's the thing they want these people to think, that they're going to be locked up for no reason whatsoever. So they tie that anxiety to something that's actually happening, an actual law breaking, which was Trump's law breaking. Man, what a shit photo.
But he hasn't been target of false and persistent allegations like President Trump has, and so I don't think he really understands the nature of this fight
let's do this one.
I think that it was a bit uncouth for him to take a jab at the former president, and there's a role for the governor of Florida here, I think, to stand up
I think they're like
for the rule of law and to push back against.
Yeah, they seem to be like, and at the end of the day, what they're asking is a sanctuary from the rule of law. Keep in mind, at that point, if there was a case where, hey, we have somebody that we need to indict them in this state, that they operate their businesses, but in this scenario, you would just have the federal government step in and say, hey, rule of law applies everywhere. You need to allow that. You can't protect them. You don't have to help, but you have to get out of the way. Which again, I don't think, DeSantis, this at the end of the day is DeSantis not really committing anything. He's not going to stop them from taking Trump, but he's not going to get involved. which basically just means when Trump gets taken, he's going to blame DeSantis, and DeSantis is going to fall farther into the red in terms of his viability. Viability for what's the word I'm looking for presidential candidacy. Oh, I don't follow SDI. I should probably do that. Anyway, let's see. Oh man, 3 times 1776. Oh, I need to update the thing. Shit, forgot to do that. I knew I forgot to open something. Gaines, why do you have like 12 accounts, my dude? Also, are you? I'm assuming you're excited that Trump is getting indicted. Please, Democrats in Florida, I completely support you and your ally from Colorado. Hey, look, it's only I don't know, but this is your Governor DeSantis. So yeah. Oh man, says he would not assist. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, he's not gonna. Ron DeSantis supports billionaires and political right, but he lacks the courage to challenge Trump and his MAGA base. Yeah, what the fuck are these pictures? Wait, is that one on the left looks like is that Rittenhouse? Looks like Rittenhouse. I don't really care about Trump. He just got forgotten about it. Yeah, but he might be getting he's getting indicted. I mean, granted, that's gonna make him stronger, I think, in the Republican primary. But you're the one who, I presume, well, you can't vote yet, right? That's right. But either way, let's see. Is there anything else? Why is Hillary Clinton fucking trending right now? Why?
But we put together a beatable. Everybody thought Hillary Clinton was unbeatable, right? But we put together a Benghazi special committee, a select committee.
Right.
What are her numbers today? Her numbers are dropping. Why? Because she's untrustable. But no one would have known any of that had happened had we not fought and made that happen.
I love the idea that these guys will complain about like the weaponization of our public resources and everything else, and then go out there and be like, yeah, we wasted a bunch of money and time on investigations that went nowhere. And like we beat our political enemy. Like they don't give a shit. They will do whatever it is to take the W, which I guess you got to respect in some kind of way. But damn, is this old Hillary? Well, I guess young Hillary. True. It's me, Hillary Rodham Clinton. Man, ugh, God, fucking Clinton stan Twitter's. Oh, wait, no. Secret Service, trending in government institutions. What is this? It's on stream. Let me give me like a second. Statement. Oh, Alvin Bragg. This evening, we contacted Mr. Trump's attorney to coordinate his surrender. Imagine coordinating a surrender. Like, did they coordinate surrenders for normal people? No, they kick your fucking door down and like, and fucking flashbang your bedroom. And like fuck your wife all at the same time. Like, let's see, coordinated surrender to the Manhattan DA's office for arraignment on a Supreme Court indictment, which remains under seal. Guidance will be provided when the arraignment date is selected. Jeez, what a fucking 10% of Manhattan residents voted for anti-Trump. Who gives a shit? Oh yeah. How long do you guys think it lasts for Secret Service had me? Yeah. Anti-Trump DA Alvin Bragg won the votes of only 10% of Manhattan residents. Is that the only place where those votes are sourced? I do realize that if he's in, I don't know if you pick that. Let's see. Why won't Bragg drop this case? Everyone says there is no crime here. I don't know about that. Seems like a grand jury thought the other way. I did nothing wrong. It was, oh man, dude, these are... Ugh, man. What a fucking L. What a fucking L. Okay. Anyway, okay, so we gotta get to like the real topics, but first I want to see what do we got? What? I swear to God, Gaines, God. damn it, you and this person's fucking videos. You are such a simp, you know that? The debate on whether trans women are women and men seems pointless, but a lot is hanging in the balance. Oh god, I Gaines, I'm gonna be very honest with you. I fucking hate these videos. They're super long and they're not very interesting to me. I will be fully forthcoming with you in that I hate these videos. I've watched now 2 of them, one of them on stream, one of them in offline, and they both were long, arduous experiences. I will put this to the side. I will minimize this window. I will not promise we go over it, but if we have time, I will consider it. I want you to know I'm going to be a lot more aggressive and a lot more angry while doing so. Anyway, okay, let's get to the normal topics. Do I need to get water? I don't think so. Nah, that's enough. Okay. What am I looking at? Oh, right. Okay. So. Oh, right. Actually, I want to reorganize this slightly. Just slightly. I want to go, let's do this one, then this one, then we'll do that one. Okay, so No. Stop opening things in smaller windows when I don't want you to do that. Foolish thing. Okay. So, on Monday, stop. Okay, cool. So, on Monday, we had the shooting in Nashville. The whole episode, we're not going to litigate that anymore. There's really not much to litigate at this point until we see the manifesto, which Lord knows when we're going to eventually get to see that. But I want to talk now about, and I talked about this in the offline segment that I uploaded earlier today, actually. We need to start talking about solutions and about how we kind of, how we respond to these kind of actions. Right now, there is a concerted effort to make the shooting in Nashville about trans ideology, about trans identity, about Christian phobia, about school safety, right? About all of these other topics that, quite frankly, in my opinion, school safety could be one that we could have a conversation about, but the rest don't really bear out to have anything to do with the actual attack that happened. And I want to take a look at, apparently, in Kentucky, not far from Tennessee, mind you, I believe like one state over, right? Like, if I remember correct, if I remember the United States map, isn't Kentucky like right under or above Tennessee, if I remember correctly? It is. Lovely. Yeah. So just north of Tennessee, 24 hours later, Kentucky decided to pass. And keep in mind, I remember we had that caller on who said, oh, it's hard to pass laws if you live in too diverse of neighborhoods, if your society is not homogenous enough, it's hard to pass laws. I find that funny because at the end of the day, in Kentucky, part of America, a diverse country, one would presume by this assumption that they were making, it seems like they were able to pass a law here. But unfortunately, this law was to make Kentucky a sanctuary city for the Second Amendment. I'm not sure what that means, so let's kind of educate ourselves together, shall we?
Kentucky is now a Second Amendment sanctuary state after a new law took effect this morning without the governor's signature.
It comes just 24 hours after the latest mass shooting, this time at an elementary school in Nashville. Bodie Brooks joins us now in studio to break down the new law. Bodie.
Now, I want everybody to keep in mind, this law, this law is not a response to the attack in Nashville 24 hours before. It's not a response. This law was going to get passed on this day, regardless as to whether there was a shooting or not. But does it not say a lot that in the United States of America, we have a deadly mass shooting that leads to the death of 3 adults and 3 children, and just one state over, they have not decided to put any more restrictions on firearm purchasing and ownership. They have not decided to make anybody more safe. They have been working diligently to this point to make sure that people who want to own or carry firearms are allowed to obtain them regardless. They have done they have seen this happen, or I should say, this was always their goal, to be able to have more gun ownership, more guns in their state, even while one state above them, or I guess one state below them in that case, one state below them, there was this horrible massacre. So, like, keep in mind, like, this isn't a response to the event, but certainly it says something to where our priorities as a nation are.
Yeah, Monty, Marvin, the law requires local and state police officers to not enforce any future gun regulations that come from the federal level. Now, this kind of shooting typically brings a debate on gun control.
I got into this movement because I wanted my grandchildren to live in
I'll get that in a second. Let's get through a little bit of this. This is only 3 minutes long, but I will answer that.
And yet we're not in that place right now.
Kathy Mekas is one of many Kentuckians pushing for laws to prevent gun violence, like safe storage and expanded background checks. She believes making Kentucky a Second Amendment sanctuary state is a step backwards in safety.
If the federal government passes a ban, we're not going to use our taxpayer dollars to help them enforce that.
That, at its root, is House Bill 153. Now Kentucky...
So I do really love that sentiment, where it's... the idea is, hey, you passed a law, the federal government passed a law, we in this state disagree with it, we're just not going to participate. We are simply not going to even bother, enforcing that law that the federal government hands down. Which is, I should say, isn't really, it's the case that we kind of see that kind of broadly, right? I believe in Colorado, there really is an enforcement of marijuana policies that there are federally, because in the state of Colorado, marijuana has been legalized. Now, here's the difference in how I see those two things. The difference is that marijuana has not been shown to have deadly outcomes to people. Firearms, on the other hand, has. And certainly there is no, we already have a Second Amendment right. That's already something that's federally guaranteed, let alone guaranteed in each state's constitution. But certainly, there's no real need for any of this. In no way is this Kentucky legislature, do they need to validate more of a Second Amendment? You already have all of your Second Amendment rights right there in the federal, in the federal constitution of your rights, right? But they're going out of their way to kind of reinforce and bolster these, because a bit of this is a virtue signal. A bit of it is, because certainly it's not a safety measure. I'll go look it up while we watch this, because I'm kind of curious now that I think about it. But the question always becomes: are we a more or less safe society with more guns? And we know this answer. Go back far enough in history before we had stricter gun restrictions. In some states, there were more firearm deaths. There were more assaults with firearms. This is, at the end of the day, a armed society isn't a polite society. It's a fearful society. And I don't know if you know anything about fear, but fear doesn't create politeness. It creates anxiety, and usually creates fear and aggression in people. So keep that in mind also.
Law without the endorsement of the governor. As Fox 56 political analyst Jonathan Miller puts it, it's the ultimate messaging law that Kentucky is a pro-gun state, but its effects may not go far.
Remember that this only prevents state and local law enforcement officials from enforcing these federal laws. It doesn't prevent the ATW or federal agents from enforcing them. So the impact of this would be limited. And that's if it's constitutional.
Miller says the new law could come to the courtroom to work out the debate over whether federal law is supreme to state law and how it's enforced. A similar law was ruled unconstitutional in Missouri. The Nashville shooting could fuel that.
Yeah, and it's kind of obvious. The states can't pass laws that undermine or conflict with federal laws. At the end of the day, the federal government is there to take supremacy over the entire country. Like the idea that it would be, oh, well, my state law says this, like, no, like, my state law says that I can like murder somebody, as long as it's on a Wednesday and and it's between the hours of 5 and 6 a.m. Like, no, that's not how that works. Like that it's not at all how that works. Like, we can't have states going past their own versions of whatever nonsense societal organization that they want. Like, that'd be ridiculous.
First lawsuit.
Law enforcement has come out and said it's dangerous for them. It puts their lives at risk because
which they're not wrong. Also, that's also the thing. Keep in mind, like, most law enforcement does not agree with the kind of like lax gun laws that we see in a lot of states. Certainly, there is some. There are absolutely police, considering police generally are more Republican leaning than they are Democrat leaning. But talk to any gun owner, talk to any cop, and they'll tell you that more guns on the street is not safe for them personally. For them, it makes things more dangerous, a more armed. It's why whenever there's any of these mass shooting events, right? It's dangerous to have lone people trying to respond to gunfire from some crazy mass shooter. It's harder for police to distinguish who the mass shooter is and who the defending person is. It's very difficult. You're working with a lot of minimal information. So, there's been times where people who have stopped mass shooters have then gotten shot themselves by cops or been attacked by cops because the cops don't know. They just know 2 people in this building. There's shots fired. We don't know who fired first. This, that, and the other. And when you're doing even routine stops, cops have to think, if we're living in a very gun permissive state, then I run the risk when I pull someone over. I run the higher risk of being shot, of being attacked by the person I'm pulling over. Whenever the more lax the laws, the more dangerous a police officer's job becomes.
Federal agencies.
But to be clear, this bill does not stop all federal gun regulations, just ones made by the Biden administration and beyond.
This federal ban becomes effective January 1, 2021. Any previous federal laws regarding firearms will be upheld in the state of Kentucky. Right now, we have a president in the Oval Office who is executive order happy.
The new law also calls for local police officers to be charged if they enforce future federal gun laws. Lawmakers can also...
Oh, that's fucking insane. Yeah. So that's also kind of the insane part, that you could run that back really quickly.
Charged if they enforce future federal gun laws. Lawmakers can also come back to amend the law should
the idea that you would charge a police officer for enforcing a federal law in your state, even if that federal law passes after this legislation, right? Any future, restrictions that the federal government puts on gun ownership or any of that stuff, right? The idea that you would set this precedent already for that is actually insane. It's actually insane. The idea that you would arrest police officers for enforcing the laws is psychotic. And again, will this actually be something that's like invoked often? I don't really think so. But certainly there are going to be a few situations, and the goal of passing this legislation at the end of the day isn't really to lock up cops who enforce the law. It's to send a signal to I mean, let's be honest here, gun manufacturers and their lobbyists, that Kentucky politicians are good investments in terms of lobbying money. That's number one. Number two is it's a virtue signal to Second Amendment absolutists. It's a signal to those people to gain votes. At the end of the day, when you're a politician, you want to get votes. A good way to do that is the virtue signal. It's something that won't really affect your society very much, won't really do very much, but will send a message to people in that society that you agree with them, or that you share their goals, their perspectives, their biases, all the rest of that stuff. But anyway. Right. Right. Okay. So, explain what piece of gun legislation specifically would have stopped the shooting. Well, okay. So, Gaines, here's the problem with your initial volley here. There isn't one piece of legislation that's going to specifically stop any individual shooting. There isn't that. There isn't a. Would you like to know the thing that we could do? The piece of legislation that we could pass to specifically have stopped the shooting in Nashville would be for us to set aside money to build a time machine so that we could send police back in time before the shooting occurred and arrest the shooter. That's the only real thing that we could have done specifically to address that shooting. Like your framing on this is all wrong. You're trying to have you're taking broad legislation and trying to say oh, would it stop this one specific case? That's not what we pass legislation for. It's not what we pass laws for. We pass laws to form society and to form a structure around how we interact with each other and how the law interacts with us. Now, the specific laws that I think could be useful, and these are, I don't know that any of these or a combination of these would have stopped the specific Nashville shooting, because there are always going to be holes when you are accounting for people's freedoms. At the end of the day, I can't just say, if you want the actual thing that would have stopped it, besides my being a bit glib and saying time travel, it's just a ban on guns. We just have the police, have the military show up at every single person's house, shut down every single gun shop, take everybody's guns, throw them in a smelter, and call it a day. That's the actual thing, but that's not realistic, and certainly I don't think that's in line with our freedoms. But if we want to talk about legislation that could reduce the likelihood of these events happening, and in some instances catch some of these before they happen, they are as such: universal background checks, which let me go see if I can look it up, because I've said this before and I know the numbers changed, so let me that's not how you spell that. Let's see. Let's see. Houston gun show at George, gun show at Houston. Increase in partisanship in the U.S. No, I want can I get the graph, please? 88% in new poll support. Background checks. Oh, here we go. Is this what I want? Well, the Hill. This was from last year, it looks like. Let's switch over really quick. An overwhelming majority of Americans questioned in a poll conducted one day after the mass shooting in an elementary school in Texas. This is Uvalde. Survey console, Politico show. Oh, can I actually look at the thing? Can I just look directly at it? Let's see. Now, generally speaking, would you say that things in the country? No. That's not what I want. Approve or disapprove Joe Biden. I want the gun law ones. Below list of possible. Vital invest. Critical. Can I control F on this page? Will that work? Gun. Oh, Christ above, there's more. Okay, I'm not reading this entire thing. Fair enough, we'll read the article. Showed that 73% of respondents strongly support universal background checks, and 15% somewhat support the requirement. Only 4% said they somewhat oppose background checks, and another 4% strongly opposed them. 5% said they had no opinion. Now, rather broad support with the American populace. I couldn't find specific gun owner numbers, but I have heard that those are also rather high, because background checks are pretty especially nowadays, rather hardly an inconvenience. For the most part, you fill out a few lines on a form. If I remember correctly, when I bought the Canic that I bought a couple years ago, that probably took about, honest to God, maybe 90 seconds for my background check to come back. Pretty much, most gun stores will have you either fill out a like piece of paper, like a paperwork, or there's usually forms online that you can do. You literally fill it out. By the time I walked back to the counter to talk to the to the dealer, my background check was already done. It was done before I even got back to the table on the other side of the room. So when we say universal background checks are not only popular, but pretty standard and uncontroversial laws that we could be reinforcing, that would be one of them. The second one is something that's more of like I don't know how broad this idea is, but I think we should absolutely be requiring dual registration, which is to say registration in both the states and federally. Obviously, some states don't have registration laws. Here in Colorado, there are no registration laws. You can go buy a firearm, and that's it. You could go buy it with a card. You can buy it with cash. There's no paper trail for that specific firearm. I don't think that is a workable system in 2023. Too often do we see shooters go to either gun stores or they go to gun shows to get deals, because gun shows generally have a little bit better deals. And they end up purchasing firearms for, that we can't really track. I think that's something that we should be able to do. The same way that we track people's vehicles. If you've ever had to register your vehicle with the state, you can't just sell it to somebody and that's it. There needs to be registration paperwork. The state has to know about it. The actual, there's paperwork that has to be filed in the transfer of that vehicle to you. I just want something like that for, at the very least, on a federal level. If there are going to be states that decide that they don't want to participate in that, that's fine. In that case, then we'll let the federal government run registration. And, states that also offer that would be good to have both of those entities have the information on that firearm. It also would cut down, I think, on, there was a whole thing about ghost guns a couple years ago, over, I believe they're called P80s. P80s where you build them all yourself. You can buy all of the individual components. That was a whole ordeal. And even those should absolutely probably be illegal, simply because there's no serial number. As far as anybody knows, they don't exist. And we need to be able to track how many firearms are in the country. And I think it's fair to say we should be able to track and know where all of them are. After that, the other one is red flag laws. Each state has kind of a combo of red flag laws that they've passed, things that they think are reasonable and don't take people's rights away, but certainly can stem the the use of firearms to harm people or for people to harm themselves. These are, again, I think, let me see how many states have them. I believe they're pretty, let's see, red flag laws by state. Let's see. In effect, oh my god, no, go away. Okay, let's see. In effect, there are 1, 2, 3, 4. Here, I'll switch over so you can count with me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. There are 20 right now that are already in effect. Quite a lot are proposed throughout the country, and a few that it doesn't seem non-applicable. I'm going to assume that means that there aren't any proposed. So red flag laws rather, distributed rather broadly across the nation. Again, I don't think they take people's rights away. These are safety measures, obviously. You're not going to get your stuff confiscated for life, but if there is a credible threat to yours or others' lives, I do think that the cops have a absolute imperative, a right to come in and confiscate those for a bit. I think that's perfectly fair. A lot of times we also hear with a lot of these shooters that like, somebody called in the day before, 2 days before or so, mentioning that, hey, this person was acting a bit sussy, maybe you guys should go take a look. And if there aren't proper red flag laws on the books in those states, or if precincts aren't willing to to exercise them, which some police precincts actually have said they won't do, then these shootings happens. They could have easily been prevented since they were kind of tipped off about the about this any possible shooting. So same with the this would also help with if you're aware of somebody who's going through a spell of mental depression, if you believe they might be suicidal and you know that they own firearms, that also might be a good way to stem the use of firearm assisted suicide, which is the most effective and I believe the actual highest rate of like suicide, or how people end up committing suicide. So there's also that aspect to it that I think could be helpful. The other one, where was it? Okay, this is another one that same with the registration bit. I don't know how widespread this is, but cartridge and caliber restrictions. I do think we should be restricting private citizens down to about 45 ACP and lower. I have never seen a use argument for the storage of anything above 45 ACP. It's just never really been something I've heard a good argument for. I don't see, a lot of people go out for hunting, and I think that you should be able to get a permit to purchase higher grade ammunition for hunting. But otherwise, pistol caliber is about as much as I think any American should be able to get their hands on. I leave space for 45 ACP specifically because there are going to be people who want to shoot 1911s, and I understand that. And to a degree, I can live with that. I can live with 45 ACP and lower. But 10 millimeter, you're going up to 5.56, 7.62. Anything above that, I think is not really arguable in terms of private storage, private use. I'm not like dedicated to that one, but I do think there is an argument to maybe we don't need to have all of the higher grades of ammunition kind of milling about all over the country. If it's not out there, it can't be stolen. So, if you're a gun store, if you're a business, different story. But a private citizen, I don't think, needs those sorts of that kind of caliber or cartridge. Last one, storage requirements. There just kind of should be storage requirements. I have no problem with the police coming in and checking up on people once a year, once every 2 years, maybe even 3 to 5 years or so. Coming in once to verify that you're abiding by a certain set of storage requirements. I don't know what those specific ones would be. I don't really have a outline of that, but just some form of formalized, this is how your guns need to be kept. You are not allowed to just leave them in your drawer, unsecured, all the rest of this stuff. You can't just put them in like your side bed with like some flimsy ass lock. No, you need to go buy a case. You need to buy locks. You need to have them. And we're not going to tell you when we show up. So if you're full of shit and you're not actually abiding by the safety storage requirements, then your shit's going to get confiscated for a bit. But, I think Japan does this a lot. It's a real bitch to own firearms in Japan, because they have very strict storage requirements. And I think we should adopt at least a minimal amount of those. Most gun owners also, keep in mind, this wouldn't be much of an inconvenience. Most gun owners have safes, have cases with a lot of locks, build out entire infrastructure into their house to store their firearms. This isn't going to be inconvenient for most gun owners. This is going to be inconvenient for irresponsible gun owners, which are the people that I want to target. I want to target irresponsible gun owners who let their guns get in the hands of their kids, who then accidentally shoot somebody, shoot themselves, or go on rampages. Yeah, either way, those are my 5 things that I want. Again, none of them are specifically going to address this or that shooting, because shootings happen within the margins and within the like little spaces that people end up getting these firearms with. But we need to have some kind of response, some way to shore up the ship, basically. We can't simply throw our hands up and say, well, there's always going to be mass shootings, so we shouldn't ever pass laws to prevent that from happening. We need to respond some way substantively to stem the frequency of these things happening. I don't think any of this will stop any of it. It's not like we pass these tomorrow, all the things I want, and we will never see a mass shooting again. It's not what I'm saying. I just want a reduction in it, because we have a disproportionate amount of mass shootings in this country compared to others. But speaking of legislation, that actually segues very nicely into the next video I want to watch, which is kind of indicative of the frustration I feel, because it is a cowardice that we see from lawmakers to simply not do anything. They seem to be at this avenue, this fork in the road of do nothing, do literally anything, and they consistently take the to do nothing road. And I want to take a look at this Tennessee congressman who, again, this recent shooting happened in his state, and this is his answer to how they figured this problem out.
Any sense, based on your reporting, based on your conversations, that given the nature of this tragedy, given that we are talking about 9-year-olds who lost their lives in yet another mass shooting, is there any sense that this time is different, Ryan?
In many ways, Kristen, it feels like a rinse and repeat situation here. I've been on Capitol Hill after many of these mass shootings, very similar to this one in Nashville, and we generally get the same response from lawmakers from both sides of the Hill. And one of those lawmakers I caught up with is Congressman Tim Burchett, who represents Knoxville, that's Tennessee, a little ways away from
coward.
Nashville, but in the same state. And I think he really crystallized, the Republican view of whether or not gun control legislation is worth it. Take a listen.
And I want to keep in mind, this is not a bipartisan thing. The resistance to gun legislation comes exclusively from the Republican Party. There is an exclusive desire to never, ever find a way to solve these problems that has anything to do with guns. It just isn't. It's not something they're willing to touch. It's not something they're willing to be involved in. And the reason I say that again, and I want to hammer this down, the reason why this guy is going to come on here after a massacre happened in his state and say that there's nothing that they can do is for one reason and one reason only. It's not because he cares about rights. It's not because he cares about the Second Amendment. It's because this guy takes money from the NRA, who is funneled money by gun manufacturers. Gun manufacturers fund the NRA, who turns around and funds politicians, specifically in the Republican Party, so that they never touch gun legislation. Any reasonable person would be open to debate, would be open to a conversation about how we respond to these mass shooting events, but they're not. There isn't a single Republican who's willing to even have a conversation on gun control, because they're paid not to. They're paid to come up with ideas about doors. They're paid to come up with ideas about alarm systems. They're paid to come up with ideas like putting fucking sniper nests in schools. They're paid to come up with every single idea that would cost more, that would be less effective, that would be, at the end of the day, not effective in stemming the profits of gun manufacturers. That is their job. Their job is to defend the profits of gun manufacturers. That's it. And they will come up with any excuse that they can to not pass gun control laws.
Legislate evil, and it's just not going to happen. We've got evil in this country, and
everybody is
and yet we have murder charges, and yet you can be arrested for murder charges.
And nothing happens.
The idea that we can't legislate evil out of our society is insane. Obviously, you can't to an absolute point. But goddamn, can you fucking try? And can you set the boundaries for what is acceptable behavior?
Going to fix this problem. They are the problem.
It doesn't concern you that other countries don't have this level of gun violence?
Other countries don't have our freedom either.
So you kind of...
Could it possibly be? And it's funny, he actually kind of gives the game up there because that's a dumb fuck excuse. Well, we got freedoms, you see. Those other countries don't have freedoms. You know what freedom we don't have? You know what freedom our kids don't have that they have in Europe? Not being fucking shot at your local grocery store, at your local office, at your local school. These aren't things. These aren't freedoms that we have in the United States. In the United States and America, we do not have the freedom to not be shot in public by goddamn psychopaths. We don't have that freedom. Europeans have that freedom, but it's not the freedom that they want to defend. They want to defend the right for the person who shot you to get that firearm. That's whose rights they're defending.
Kind of see what the congressman told me there in response to my question about the disparity between gun violence here in the United States versus countries around the world. And he argued it was a freedom issue, which to a certain extent describes a level of tolerance with this type of violence when it comes
this guy has no fucking problem with kids getting killed.
And, you know, this is something, again, it's something we deal with over and over again, and there just seems to be a resistance to move forward at all. There was that bipartisan gun legislation that was passed in the last Congress. But I want to point you to kind of a moment here on...
And keep in mind, the gun legislation that they passed, in the last session was fucking dog shit. Didn't do fucking anything. Mainly because it's written by dumbass liberals who don't know anything about guns, and it's just they try it's the thing that they can try the least on. It'll have the least amount of impact, and nothing will change. They can continue to campaign on more reforms that they're not going to go through for, because they'll pick the weak sauce ones. They'll pick the ones that aren't all that relevant.
Capitol Hill today, Kristen, that kind of crystallizes just how frustrated some are with the lack of progress in this space. And that was the Senate chaplain, Barry Black, who rarely finds the opportunity to inject politics into his morning prayer, the first prayer that is said as the Senate.
Okay, I don't care about prayer. But and it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous, guys. Like we go through this every couple of years. What am I saying, years? We go through this conversation every couple of weeks now, because there's always another mass shooting that comes up. There's always some thing that that comes up that it's like, oh, well, we can't stop this gun violence. We couldn't possibly pass laws as a response to this or that, violent attack. Like, there are a lot of people who think that we're never going to properly respond because we let Sandy Hook happen. We let a bunch of little kids, we let a bunch of little kids, get killed in Sandy Hook. And we as a country have moved on. There isn't a day of remembrance for that. There isn't a national conversation about how we let little children get massacred. No, nothing. There's nothing. We don't talk about it. And it's because politicians like that, and because of gun rights, Second Amendment advocates like who we're gonna watch next. But before we do that, we're gonna take a quick detour because OAS Music has given us a pretty. What is this? Oh no. Okay. What is this?
We are Trump's volunteer legal defense team. American people have raised $250 million.
Oh no.
We have not been paid. We have not been paid.
We have not been.
At all. None of his lawyers.
How do I join this team? Can I get paid?
I just want to make that clear.
When did this take place?
Sorry, we're waiting to get press clearance.
Yeah, sorry about that. Thank you everyone for coming. We'll have a presentation.
We can't give any statements until we're cleared. Sorry.
I love that you can just like pretend to be illegal.
Let's introduce ourselves. Everyone, thank you for coming. We are Trump's volunteer legal defense team. Our associate Rudy Giuliani could not be here. He's afraid of the great weather. Even one beam of
We must wait. What is this? Trump casts a dark shadow upon us all. Trump's deceit is beyond a reasonable doubt.
We have a brief statement on behalf of the president. We understand that there has been some claims that he has been trying to.
Hey, whoa! What are we doing? What the fuck just happened?
Everyone, thank you for coming.
There we go.
We are Trump's volunteer legal defense.
We already watched this part. Go back.
Legal defense team. Our associate Rudy Giuliani could not be here. He's afraid of breaking the weather. Even one beam of sunlight touches the man, he will collapse in a pile of dust. That there has been that he has been trying to encourage towards violence. That is not true. He gave us.
That is not true. He would never.
If any of his supporters are out there, you are the true patriots. Do not.
True patriots.
Do not engage in violence. Wink.
Wink. Wink.
Okay.
Amazing.
As his attorney, I refuse to get in trouble. He still has the power of presidential pardon. That's not true. I see what he's saying.
Ooh.
We want to thank everyone, especially the millions of people who have contributed to his legal defense team. We are his volunteer legal defense team. The American people have raised $250 million for this defense. We have not been paid. We have not been paid any of that at all. None of his lawyers have been paid at all. We just want to make that clear for the record. Well, we have been assured that the money is being spent. It is being spent at quite a high volume. So we do want to thank everyone who supported. 3 days, after this alleged crime happened, he said, "Oh, I think I'm going to get arrested for this." Yeah. Now ask yourself, why would he know that?
Why would he know that?
Crimes. He came to us and says, "Hey, they're going to arrest me for this." How else would he know that?
Yeah.
How else would he know that he would eventually be charged with a crime unless he was innocent and this was
exactly.
This is true. This is true.
Legally since the 70s.
You only think you're gonna be arrested when it's bullshit.
Right?
Illegally?
What?
Donald Trump got me kidnapped.
Oh my God.
Allegedly.
What is going on? Oh my God, America. Allegedly.
I understand the question.
My God.
We're temporarily disbarred after the January 6th committee. We have been relicensed. The president through his
Law license Trump University.
legal authority here. Now let's get to the.
Do you have to have like a license to be a lawyer? Isn't it like you can represent yourself?
Use campaign funds to pay for sex.
Right? There's an implied no there. I feel like.
Yeah. So I mean, is it illegal to pay someone to not talk about the money you paid them for sex using campaign funds?
Instagram comedians, guys.
Yeah, I believe that question is about how we are going to defend the president. As soon as charges are officially filed, at the start of his presidency, he gave us about 30 of these.
Okay, so you do. Okay.
General, of course.
But can't you can like represent yourself in like a court case? I mean, it's fucking stupid, but like. But I know you can. I'm assuming that's just. Yeah, I guess that's why they say you have a right to an attorney, and they just give you one. Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah. Can you imagine how fucking wacky that would end up being?
How many followers do you guys have on Instagram?
On Instagram,
Big Tech has been trying to ban
Big
us.
Tech. I know.
We were officially canceled back in 2022 for saying that Canada shouldn't exist as a country.
You can't say anything anymore.
Yeah, I know.
You can't say the Earth
Man.
is round. Canada isn't real.
Yeah.
Fucking Vic Trump.
Walter Masterson.
Walter
Trump's volunteer legal team.
Yeah.
I know. So.
Yeah, thank you. All right.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Fucking amazing. God bless America. God damn. Fucking wonderful. Gaines, were you not here when I explained all of that gun stuff? You better been here when I went over all of those the legislation. I'm not repeating all of that again. Okay. So don't start. Okay, cool. Okay, so they make fun of the far right. Good, dude. Far right pundits are fucking idiotic. Okay. So I mentioned earlier that there's the law side of this, right? Like there's the we as a nation don't really have this conversation about guns and everything else, right? It's something that we're not interested in having. Mainly because of a partisan exclusive interest in not talking about gun control, not talking about gun laws, there's no interest in it on the Republican side of our politics, right? But keep in mind, the politician side of it is one of corruption. Sorry, I couldn't think of the word. Is one of corruption. They get money from the NRA. You know, they get money from the NRA, who gets their funding from gun manufacturers. We all understand how this system works, right? So the other side of this is right-wing media and the way that they frame a lot of this. Now, obviously, right-wing media is, especially if we're talking Fox News, as we're going to see, is also rather monetarily interested in the proliferation of their, political parties' power grabbing, right? Fox News, Fox News being the voice of the Republican Party, basically, is going to toe the party line and reinforce and advocate for the party consensus on any issue. And through that, we see a lot of conversations kind of turn out what we're going to look at here, which is Tucker Carlson bringing on dude, I've seen him on YouTube before. He's like a YouTuber. He's a gun YouTuber. He's a 2A YouTuber, whatever the fuck they call themselves. And they have a little conversation. So I kind of want to see, because they always kind of frame it in the same, they're coming to take the guns. They'll use any instance of gun violence to take away our guns. Like, yeah, when there's murders, when the first guy murdered somebody, when the first murder happened, we were thinking in our head, oh, this thing happened that we don't want to happen again. Why don't we pass some laws to kind of figure out a way to legislate that out of our system? Maybe that might be a good thing to do. And it should be no different than with guns and gun rights in this country. Obviously, there is an argument that why is it sometimes it starts and sometimes doesn't. Obviously, there's an argument that too much freedom in terms of gun ownership and in terms of obtaining firearms is too lax and leads to a dangerous environment. So let's kind of, I want to take a look. I think I've watched this dude's content before. The YouTuber, that is. They do pretty normal 2A content. They'll throw, the thing I hate about 2A content also is there's always this air of like anti-government sentiment, and there's always this air of anxiety over gun laws and there's always these little jabs that they make, even though they don't get explicitly political. But either way, and that seems to kind of be their channel. But they showed up on Tucker Carlson, so I'm sure they're going to be a little bit more interested in the political half of their advocacy.
He's an advocate for the Second Amendment. He's seen a lot of these, probably not shocked as we are, joins us tonight to respond to it. This does seem, even by the standards of the Disarm the Population group, this does seem pretty shameless.
No, it really is, especially considering the amount of information that people have now with respect to the stats. Like, the vast majority of these shootings are committed with handguns. I mean, we're talking the vast majority. So for them to follow it up immediately after and talk about what is used a fraction of the time in these shootings, it kind of speaks very loudly to how disingenuous they are about actually looking for a solution. They're trying to get a goal, and the goal essentially is to get gun control. That's really all they care about. So
now you're
it's almost as if they wait for these types of tragedies to happen so that they can leverage it to get their goal.
Okay. So we have to start with this off the bat. This comes from, and I do mean this, a deep, deep brain of conspiracy. If someone were to think, this guy probably thinks that liberals, progressives, anybody who's not a conservative gun owner, I guess the conspiracy is that we sit around waiting for mass shootings to happen so that we can promote and propose gun legislation or gun control, right? But here's the problem here's the kind of fault in his logic here. It doesn't matter if I or any liberal is sitting around and waiting for gun violence to happen. That doesn't matter, because it doesn't. It doesn't matter what my motivation is in terms of whether I want or don't want X amount of gun control to be implemented into this country. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. What I am being is called consistent. I consistently, whether it's a trans shooter, whether it's a white boy shooter, whether it's whether they're black, Asian, Hispanic, whatever, I don't give a fuck. What I want is a system, is the freedom for Americans to leave their homes and not be killed by psychopaths in public with guns. To do that, I believe we need to pass legislation that puts barriers on the obtaining and of the keeping of firearms. It's as plain as it is. It's just consistent is what they have a problem with. A consistent political policy prescription, I suppose one could say, that guns are the problem, and that to solve this problem with too many guns in our country, we need to stem the use and the purchasing of those firearms. That the more we manufacture them and send them out onto the streets, the more they end up killing American citizens. The same way, the more, when we had only 10 cars on the road, they didn't kill that many people. It's only once now everyone's driving cars that now, car-related accident deaths are rather frequent. Now, there's a difference between those because cars are instruments of transportation, and also the way that our cities and many of our cities and the areas that we live in are built with the intention to be driven on cars. We don't have a mass transit system, even in a lot of bustling cities. Here in Denver, our trains are good, but I wouldn't say great for getting around. That's different from owning guns, which Free Time makes the observation that it's constitutionally protected. And it is part of our tradition in terms of we did write arming yourself into the Constitution, into the founding of this country. But so fucking what? Who cares? I don't fucking care. I want Americans to be safer. If that means that we repealed the Second Amendment, which, by the way, if you actually want to make Americans safe, repeal the Second Amendment and just go ban all the guns, pick them all up, and, go clap everybody up who still has them and refuses to give them up. That's how you actually can make America more safe. It's just take every single gun off the street. But there's a balancing act to this. I want people to have the freedom to own firearms, but I also want that to balance with the freedom of people to not be shot with those firearms, other people to not be put in danger by the prevalence of those in our society. I'm repeating what I said earlier, but my point stays the same. And Free Time, if you weren't here for my entire legislative tangent about that, I'm disappointed in you, because I went on all that for you.
If we were talking solutions.
Okay. Anyway. Let's go back really quick.
Pretty shameless.
No.
I want to see how he frames this, actually.
Probably not shocked as we are, joins us tonight to respond to it. This does seem, even by the standards of the Disarm the Population group, this does seem
Fun fact,
shameless.
Disarming the population would make it safer.
No,
that is true.
Especially
less guns would probably mean less gun deaths.
With respect to the stats, like the vast majority of these shootings are committed with handguns. I mean, we're talking the vast majority. Right. So
he's
for
not
them
wrong.
To follow it up
he is not wrong.
After and talk about what is used a fraction of the time in these shootings, it kind of speaks very loudly to how disingenuous they are about actually looking for a solution. They're trying to get a goal, and the goal essentially is to get gun control. That's really all they care about. So
this is true. Well, no, I care about the outcome that gun control will get me. But what's really weird, what I find really weird with these guys is they think the goal is some kind of bureaucratic interest in controlling firearms. That's not the interest from liberals or even progressives. The goal is not to control guns because it'd be fun, because it's the thing we like to do. That's not the interest in it. My interest is to make society, make people more safe. If that gun control is only the tool to which we do that, The goal is not gun control. The goal is to do gun control and see less gun deaths. That is the goal.
So it's almost as if they wait for these types of tragedies to happen so that they can leverage it to
and
get
if only
their
that would
goal.
be a bad
Because
thing.
we
If
were
only
talking
they didn't
solutions,
happen so
we
often.
wouldn't be talking about a gun that's used a fraction of the time in these types of shootings. We'd be talking about, okay, how do we take what are soft targets and make them hard?
And here we go. This is what I mean. Instead of, this is, and I'm sure I wouldn't be shocked if this dude gets money from some kind of political action group or some gun range or somebody to spout the same talking points that I've heard my entire life. Why don't we just put body armor on why don't we just hand out body armor to kids as they're coming into their school day every single day? How is this, again, there is an obsession from Republicans, from guys like this, to never, ever make it about guns. It's always, let's talk about everything else but it. He mentions that AR-15s, or I'm assuming that's what he's referencing. But he mentions, most of the time I hear, oh, AR-15s aren't used in many mass shootings. Most mass shootings are done with pistols. That's only vaguely true. There is a trend of mass shootings being conducted with AR-15s. The I believe it's a plurality. I don't know if it's a majority. The majority of gun deaths in America are due to pistols. Mass shootings are unique in that usually shooters go in with AR-15s, with semi-automatic rifles, because they're looking to do a maximal amount of damage. Anybody who wants to commit suicide is just going to go to the gun store, get something that they think looks nice, and blow their brains out. Like, that's pretty obvious. That's rather straightforward. And for that, I do think that we should have, again, some red flag laws. So if somebody, is suspected to be of harm to themselves or to others, then they shouldn't be allowed to purchase that firearm. Or I think the police should absolutely be within their rights to go and confiscate that one. I got no problem with that. But my point in all of this is to say that what the alternative, this guy wants to talk about solutions. My first question becomes, AR-15s are usually used, is what we see get used, more frequently in mass shootings, which means there might be a connection between how people utilize the tool of an AR-15. You buy a hammer, right? There's quite a lot of uses for a hammer, but you don't see a lot of people go out and try to commit mass assaults with hammers, do you? Which tells us that, yeah, the hammer isn't really used for that. But what is an AR-15 used for? Can somebody tell me what an free time? I haven't read this long paragraph of yours. I will after this, after I'm done ranting. But I need to know, what's the utility use of an AR-15? Because as far as I'm aware, there really ain't one. There's not much of an argument for AR-15s being widely available to private citizens. There just simply isn't. There's no scenario where you're going to need an AR-15 in a moment when you might already have a pistol. It's going to be used against mobs. Really? What? And do we have a history of mobs just randomly, spawning in people's front yards? Is that a thing? Is that a reasonable thing that we need to acclimate society for? I don't think it is. When was the last time you saw a mob? And even so, what do we have to deal with mobs? What is the tool that we have to deal with what I would probably characterize as a unconstitutional protest, as a protest that's not in line with what we deem is constitutional protest? We have the police. I got no problem with police having AR-15s. I don't really think they're necessary, and certainly not every precinct needs to be armed to the teeth to that level. But certainly, law enforcement has an argument for owning these weapons, but private citizens? No. There's almost no use case for AR-15s in private use. Even in hunting, most people don't use AR-15s. They use rifles. They usually use bolt action or even semi-automatic rifles, but they're usually using hunting rifles for those cases. And hunting rifles, I don't think it wouldn't fall under AR-15s. So why an assault weapons ban? Why a specific tailored to AR-15, the platform, and many other of those types would be more appropriate is because the use for them that we see more frequently than anything else are war zones and mass shootings. Those are the two use cases for AR-15s. And it's why we shouldn't be allowing private citizens to own them. And look, I'm taking a hit on this one. I think AR-15s are cool. I like firearms. Let's be very clear. I'm not against firearms. But at the end of the day, we are looking at something that has no place in society, no use case outside of killing people. There just isn't. I know that they're not. There's a reason why I said AR-15 platform. I know that the assault weapons ban is a broad term. Certainly, unfortunately, this is the case with idiot liberals who don't know anything about guns. They don't know how to write legislation around them. It also is the case that there are manufacturers. So when they passed the assault weapons ban, do you know what the manufacturers did? They created SBRs, which is to say short barrel rifles, which technically are pistol caliber, meaning that they wouldn't fall under the category of what's the word I'm looking for? Of assault weapon, because assault weapons were, I believe, deemed of built a certain type of way. There were certain components, and manufacturers found a way to skirt around those components and create the exact same firearm, just under the proper regulations that we wrote. I understand that writing the laws would be very difficult and actually would require quite a bit of regulation on gun manufacturers to ensure that they don't manufacture bullshit to skirt around the regulations that we would be writing into any kind of weapons ban. Obviously, clearly. But yes, I'm well aware of that. You're not talking to somebody who's unaware and stupid about guns. I understand guns. It's why I advocated for cartridge and caliber restrictions. Because at the end of the day, I think people know private citizen also needs anything above 45 ACP unless they're going hunting, in which case fill out a permit and then you can buy that stuff. There's no reason you need anything above 45 ACP as a private citizen, though. Right. Let me read your long paragraph and they're getting back to the thing. But I value civil libertarian values a lot when it comes to adults. Like same apply to I want to legalize drugs. I could understand some arguments about gun control, but blanket category bans, red flag laws, etc. I just can't get behind. Maybe I'm naive, but in general, I don't think government having more control over what people can own ends up better. Well, it's not about government control. This isn't a control thing. This is this isn't a government control issue. This isn't what you're thinking when you say government control. I feel like in your mind, you're thinking, what's the, like Patriot Act type stuff, right? Like the overreach, the way the government spies on everybody, the resources that they have to do so. That's not what I'm asking for. I'm asking for us as a society to erect barriers to what is acceptable in terms of gun ownership. But the only way we do that is through legislation. I don't want cops going around taking people's guns. I've never advocated for bans or mandatory gun buyback programs. I do think we should have them as an option for people. But going forward, we need to find a way to make people more safe and allow them to still have the right to arm themselves. I got no problem with the right to arm yourself, but it does come at a cost. Every freedom comes at a cost. And I think that we have passed the point, for me personally, and I think most Americans have gotten to the point where the cost to our lax gun access, the cost is too high. It's just too high. At this point, it's outweighed what we benefit from in terms of the ability to own firearms. It's not worth it anymore. It's just not. There's a guy in Wisconsin who built a firing range in his backyard. He shoots his AR-15 and all the other 30 fucking guns that he has. I'm happy for that guy. I'm glad that he's able to enjoy shooting all those guns, building that firing range in his backyard, all the rest. But unfortunately, it has come at the cost that kids in 2023, the number one killer of them are firearms. There's just no getting around this. I'm sorry, but it's not worth that guy's personal firing range that we have all of these kids dying in schools because guns are too available to our citizens. It's not worth the trade. You know, and either way, that guy in Wisconsin I mentioned, he's not going to get his guns taken away. He's not going to be able to buy new ones, but he gets to keep what he has now. It's just not worth it. It's just not worth it going forward.
Like, it's not even mentioned. And then when it's brought up, they say things.
All right, let me go back.
And make them hard. Like, it's not even mentioned. And then when it's brought up, they say things like, well, we don't want our schools to look like prisons. Why are we talking aesthetics when we're talking about the safety of our children?
I don't think they mean the aesthetics of prisons. They mean, I guess the conversation is a bit about aesthetics, but it's also, we don't want our kids going to schools and it be an environment where they're worried about their safety and constantly reminded when they look around how would you feel going into school and you're walking into a fucking viper's nest? Like, nobody wants to. You can't learn that way. You're too worried about your safety all the time. You know, the response from adults tells kids how to react. So if your teacher decides, I'm going to bring a firearm into my classroom, you know what that tells all the students in that classroom? That they're in danger. That's what it tells them. And then you want kids to go to school and try to focus on learning? You know, as we hand out, flak jackets to every kid as they come in, how are they supposed to focus on their education? How are they supposed to focus on being normal kids when they have to worry about, you know, when there's like an arm to the teeth guard walking their halls every single day? You know, it's just, and again, that's one investment. That's something we could do. Every school could get money to do this, or we could just pass laws that don't cost us anything. Like, we could not spend any money, pass some laws, and enforce them a little bit, and look at that. We might, you know, we actually got a better outcome with less of an investment, less money the taxpayer now has to front for the safety of their own kids. I think that you pay your taxes, your kid goes to school, that you should be secure in that alone right now, that your kid's going to be safe. But you're not. You have to pay extra. If you want your kid to be safe, an extra, $1,000 of taxes to ensure your kids are safe now. Is that, you know, that just falls on the backs of taxpayers now.
Can I ask a question? Like, what if you really cared about the murder of innocents? And I think most people, I do, people who disagree with me and everything, I think people do care. But if you were rational about it, you would want to know all the factors that led to it, and you'd want a tox screen from the blood of the killer. Like, a lot of these people seem like they're not.
Why do I want a tox screen?
What are those pharmaceuticals? Why can't we know that? And if they describe their motive in writing in a manifesto, why can't we see that? I don't understand. I mean, we're being lied to while the children haven't even been buried yet.
My favorite thing is that it's lied. They're doing an investigation. They're not. You don't have a right to see the manifesto during the investigation. Also, imagine Tucker Carlson, pro-police Tucker Carlson over here, is upset that the police aren't doing what he wants. How about you support police and support the process, Tucker? How about that?
I don't know why no one else is offended by that.
You know, that's interesting you said that, Tucker. I actually was talking with a good friend of mine, and he stated the same thing. He was like, all of these things have been released to us rather quickly. We have the video of the cops actually taking down the suspect. We have all of this information, except for the information that really matters most to get to the deeper issue involved here. Because you got to think about the type of mentality and mindset of somebody who can look at a child, point a gun at them, and pull the trigger. That's dark. Or possibly there's something else going on here, but
no, it's not. Because no. So free time. Unfortunately, you're demonstrating a lot of the same tendency that serpent dude does, where I'm responding to something. I'm not trying to draw a false dichotomy. I'm responding to something because Tucker Carlson is a hypocrite. That's why. Tucker Carlson already set the debate in terms of police support and adherence to police procedure. Tucker Carlson has a history of not just siding, but defending police's, ability to investigate, their actions, their process, everything else. But in this one scenario, Tucker Carlson seems to be very interested and very upset with the fact that the police are going about their investigation and through their process at his expense. Tucker Carlson wants a manifesto because he wants to do a show about that manifesto. And he's upset with the police because their procedure is getting in the way of his propaganda. That is what I'm responding to.
We don't know. We can't get any insight because, as you've pointed out succinctly, we don't have that information and they don't want to give it to us.
How about you wait?
But they never want to explain why anything happens. Why did 9/11 happen? I still don't know. I honestly don't. I mean that. They hate our freedoms. Okay, but really? Was there more to it than that? Why did Russia invade Ukraine? It seemed like...
there's quite a bit you can find out about why 9/11 happened. None of it had to do with Iraq, but there's plenty you can learn about that.
Counterintuitive. Why'd they do that?
You would think somebody
these mass shooting happen?
of Tucker's
maybe there's a reason, but why aren't we talking about
status
it?
would be able to have access to that information.
Because you maintain more control if you can control the narrative. You can't control the narrative when you have the truth, because the truth will supersede the narrative if the narrative doesn't line up with the truth. So of course I'm going to shield you from the truth so I can control the narrative and get you to do what I want.
Well, clearly, if we're talking about narratives. See, I find it really funny. They want to talk about narratives, right? Even though the police have been rather okay with a certain amount of information, there is the motive aspect of it that they're holding back because they're investigating that portion. You see, the video of the shooter entering, the video of the shooter being, apprehended, all the rest of that stuff. None of those things, those aren't really insightful. Like, how they got in is how they got in. How they how they got tackled is how they got tackled. Those are objective facts. Those aren't explanatory. The manifesto, on the other hand, is a case where investigators need to go over it. They need to, first of all, read all of it. Then they need to go through the person's history and find out if the manifesto they wrote could be like bullshit. It could be, there could be more layers to it if they're communicating with other people. If they find out that, they were communicating with this person and mention them in their manifesto, we need to find that person and make sure that they're not, they didn't egg them on or do something else. There's a lot of factors in this. And, we're not even a week out of, this shooting happen. And, and already we're hearing like, we need all the facts. We know all the facts. How about you let the police do their investigation? And again, I say this again, Tucker Carlson has never been interested in, in deriding the police's process, investigations, any of it, except this one instance. In this instance, it's getting in the way of his propaganda, and that's what he doesn't like. Actually, let's go back really quick. I want to hear what the last thing he said.
Invade Ukraine. It seemed like kind of counterintuitive. Why'd they do that? Honestly, don't I mean that? They hate our freedoms. Okay, but really? Was there more to it than that? Why did Russia invade Ukraine? It seemed like kind of counterintuitive. Why'd they do that? Why did these mass shooting happen? Maybe there's a reason, but why aren't we talking about it? Seriously.
Well, because I think you maintain more control if you can control the narrative. You can't control the narrative when you have the truth. Because the truth will supersede the narrative if the narrative...
It's also really funny. These guys talk about truth and then, they get truth and they say that it's, Trump gets indicted and suddenly it's, Soros backed this, Soros backed that. These guys don't care about truth. I have very little respect for this dude. I don't remember what the fuck his name is. I quite frankly don't care. It's right here. Colin Noir, or whatever. We'll take a look at his content, actually. But absolutely no respect. Because this is, unfortunately, the mind of a conspiratorial, irresponsible gun advocate. I have no other way to describe this than this. I have no other way to describe that than this. This isn't. Any responsible gun owner wants legislation, wants restrictions on guns. Plain and simple. You want people to be safe because safety is the number one thing that gun owners stress the most. Go talk to any instructor, go talk to any owner, go talk to any gun owner or gun shop owner or gun shop employee. They'll tell you safety is the number one thing that you need to learn when handling and owning firearms. You know, again, the presence of guns does not make somebody safe. The presence of responsible gun use does. And this guy does not advocate for that. He might say it, but, you know, he comes on this and tries to spin the narrative of, oh, now the police are woke now. Like, how long are we out until Tucker Carlson just says, the Nashville police, they won't give us the manifesto because they're woke? And, you know, then it just becomes a political football. We stop caring about the children, which Tucker Carlson hasn't talked about the kids at all. He's just been talking about the control of guns. Did you notice that? Did anybody else notice that? I always tend to notice that. Is they always talk about like, nobody's talking about the kids. Is Tucker talking about the kids? Is he? No, because he's talking about government control. He's talking about gun control and everything else surrounding it. He's not talking about kids. He's talking about why we shouldn't pass laws to protect kids. It's actually kind of it's quite telling. He kind of tells on himself in that case. But I want to take a look again. I want to take a look at this dude's content. Stop it. Let's take a look. Biden keeps saying, I don't care. He's naming guns instead of the people. Oh, yeah. Also, okay. Is there a...
We need Republicans in Congress to show some courage. This is what they owe these parents.
Oh, that's his logo. I thought that was the Glock logo.
Family members.
Anti-Derek Chauvin, pro-police, anti-red flag, pro-police. So free time, that's really nice, but again, I was criticizing Tucker Carlson's hypocrisy. Again, I'm not like you know who's pro Derek Chauvin? Tucker Carlson. You know who's who's pro drug war? Tucker Carlson. You know who's might be anti civil asset forfeiture? Maybe Tucker Carlson, but I'm honestly not sure. I've never heard him talk about it. Red flag laws and anti red flag laws. Tucker Carlson. Pro police, supposedly Tucker Carlson, but again, only when police are acting in accordance with his conservative values. That's my claim.
Who are losing their loved ones, they need to show courage. We need to call this out.
By the ideology they promote, it's really of a moral lecture from that person hours after these children are murdered. By the ideology they promote, it's almost beyond description. Clay Noir is an advocate for the Second Amendment. He's seen a lot of these, probably.
Okay, this is the exact same video, but I'm
very loudly.
Consider, is this a bit? No, the name of the video is just Biden keeps blaming.
Well, the children haven't even been buried yet.
Is this different, or is this literally the exact same segment?
Invade Ukraine. It seemed like kind of.
To get you to do what I want.
Okay, so the name of this video is Biden keeps blaming the guns instead of the people using the guns. So I want to make this really, really clear to everybody. Blaming a single individual for a single act of gun violence is under the purview of the court system in that locality. Understand that. The way that we deal with the shooter in Nashville, although I believe they're dead now, so we're not going to deal with that. But the way that we would deal with that shooter in Nashville is we would put them on trial, we would present evidence, and we would probably convict them of X, Y, and Z crime. They would go away for probably life, and that would be the end of it. That is how we solve that specific case. And that is the approach that we take every single day when there is gun violence. Every single day we blame the person, we convict them of their crimes, we put them away, or whatever it is we end up doing to them, right? What Democrats, and I'll specifically, I'm going to say Democrats and everybody to the left of them, because Republicans are utterly incapable or uninterested in participating in this, are interested in is passing laws, again, that construct society in a specific way to reduce this kind of violence. You can say that, oh, well, guns don't kill people, people kill people. Well, guess what? We already have laws to regulate people's activity. They're called Homicide 1, Homicide 2, Manslaughter 1, Manslaughter. We already have all of those. What we don't have is a version of that to compound the exponentially larger problem in the United States versus everywhere else of gun violence. That's the whole point. Like I don't know what this is. Like, blame people. Well, what does me blaming some Nashville shooter have anything to do with the next shooter that we're going to see in a couple of weeks? It's not going to, they're not going to impact each other. The only way you solve this is through legislation, is through constructing systems and structures to address this current issue. There's anything else, anything short of that is, I don't know, is I could say cowardice. Most likely it's financial interest, quite frankly. Again, both these guys, Tucker Carlson backing up the Republican Party talking points, and this guy, YouTuber, who, briefly glance at his content there, pretty high, high production value, which tells me he's getting money from somebody to make this kind of content, which tells me he's got a bit of a financial interest in seeing the in the gridlock that is our gun control debate in this country. Anyway, yeah, again, free time. What you're not getting here is, I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about Tucker Carlson. You're one kid, man. I care about the person who speaks to millions of people every single night and disseminates propaganda and talking points to millions of people every single night. Because when Tucker Carlson is a hypocrite, his audience learns those talking points and doesn't quite understand that what they're saying doesn't line up with their previous positions. That everybody is, that the Republican Party, as as I kind of tend to notice, a lot of these pundits, I should say, are always pro-police until it comes back to them. They're pro-police until Trump gets indicted. They're pro-police until the manifesto that they'd like to talk about doesn't come out. They're pro-police in every scenario except when they think police are woke or whatever it might be. Whenever police show any kind of left-wing tendency, that's when they're suddenly not interested in policing, which is why, which is again why I say they're not really pro-police. They just want those groups to identify with them and reinforce their power. But also sticking on the general topic here, I want to take a look really quickly, because I heard a lot. So actually, here we can actually kind of demonstrate this a little bit. Where is, no, not this. There it is. Oh my goodness. So much tweeting. So much tweeting. Why do people tweet so much? Like, I kind of understand it, but I also, oh my god, what is this? Next step from oh my god, oh Candace, oh Candace. Where is his damned tweets? I know it's somewhere around here. I love when I get an idea to show something and then I'm like, damn it, now I need to go and find it. 27th. Did Ben delete it? Ben had to have deleted it, since, I mean, he did get ratioed. Damn it, I think he did. Ben, what the fuck? What the actual heck, Ben Shapiro? Oh my god, it feels like I swallowed some dust. Oh, I can't find Ben's silly tweet on what's it called? I don't know if I can find their exchange. That makes me sad. Either way, so Ben Shapiro got fucking ratioed on Twitter apparently by Vosh, because there kind of seems to be this deep interest in you know the framing of a lot of you know of a lot of this you know the attack on Monday by the right. And I want to take a look at a bit of the online response. Obviously, we know that Matt Walsh is, you know, coming on here to, you know, got on his platform and gave his villain speech and everything. But let's keep in mind, Ben Shapiro is probably the most moderate of any of the Daily Wire guys, and still tried to participate in the, you know, oh man, I wish I could find it. Okay, let me try one more. Let me try one more, please. Ben Shapiro. Please. Oh, I hope this. Oh, it's a terrible screen. Oh wait, no, I'm on Google. Why can I never find anything when I'm... There we go. That's what I wanted. Okay. Oh, that's too zoomed in. That's far too zoomed in. This was the exchange I was speaking of. If a straight white man murdered a bunch of children at a progressive school in the name of anti-trans politics, it would dominate the news cycle for months and become the center of the 2024 presidential cycle. Which is curious. Which, you know, Vosh coming in with the far-right lunatic shot up Club Q and killed 5 people just a few months ago. And you ghouls were barely able to denounce them. The right wing was running stories about how it was the fault of LGBT ideology. So I'm assuming everyone kind of remembers that. You know, the entire Club Q shooting was a bit of a you know, a bit of a moment that I think people tend, like, we've kind of pigeonholed it, I feel like, because at this point, you know, do we talk about the Club Q shooting? Not really. The same way we're not going to talk about this Nashville one. Certainly the right will talk about this Nashville one for a while, but they'll be the only people fear-mongering about the rise of the terrorist trans ideology or whatever the fuck. But Ben comes in here with, like, the utterly dumb point of, like, oh yeah, if a white straight guy goes into a progressive school, which, I'm sorry, what? First of all, what the fuck is a progressive school? I don't even know what that is. Is that like a STEM school? It's not really a thing. Like, that's not really a thing. But also, how many times have we seen attacks on the trans community? And that's the explicit goal of that. Free Time also, just to let you know, there's no evidence that they actually are. Also, being non-binary and being conservative aren't mutually exclusive. It's not like if you're non-binary, you can't be conservative. But there's been no evidence to say that they actually were, as far as I've ever seen. If you've got a source to say otherwise, but I looked it up earlier for a different response, and as far as we know, that was just a defense excuse by his lawyer. But either way, I want to take a look at the tone and tenor of Ben's the beginning here of Ben's characterization of this shooting, and then we're gonna go back really quick and take a look at his response to the Club Q shooting.
As you know, we sometimes get into controversial content on this program, and not all platforms are okay with that. So you got to head on over to dailywire.com to hear
Don't do
everything
that.
I have to say.
Don't do that.
Well,
Just follow this
horrifying
channel
story out
and
of
subscribe to
Nashville,
this YouTube
Tennessee.
channel.
Yesterday, a shooter who identified as a trans man, a 28-year-old woman, biological woman, shot 3 students and 3 adults at Covenant School in the Green Hills neighborhood of Nashville. It's a private Christian school in Nashville, Tennessee, according to the Wall Street Journal. Apparently, this person was a former student at the school. On this show, we don't actually name shooters because we believe that gives glory to shooters. It gives them the attention they so desperately seek. But the facts of the case are things that are highly relevant. So we are going to be discussing many things about the shooter that are highly relevant, especially given the politicized environment in which these shootings happen and in which the media just decide to lie about the source of the shootings. So in this particular case, the Nashville police spokesperson, Don Aaron, said police received the call of an active shooter at Covenant School, 10:13 a.m. local time. The suspect had entered the school on the first floor and then proceeded to the lobby area on the second floor, firing multiple shots. Apparently, the shooter broke into the school. The doors were not locked. Aaron said that officers responding to the scene discovered the shooting occurred on the school's second floor and quickly engaged the shooter. The suspect was dead by 10:27 a.m. Unlike in other cases, officers actually did hear the gunshots and charged the shooter.
Good for them.
This immediately turned into a battle over narrative, which is what happens with every mass shooting in the United States. The left immediately jumps to a series of narratives rooted in sort of left-wing storytelling. And this happens with every...
Okay. So shooting happens, and now there's the left is building a narrative? Okay. We are...
Before the shooting even happens, if the victims of a shooting are X, and if the shooter is Y, here's what the narrative will be. If you have a mass shooting in the United States in which the shooter is white and the victim is black, then the narrative is going to be about both guns and racism. If you have a mass shooting in which the shooter is black...
Well, certainly it's always going to be about guns. That's called having a consistent position. But if the shooting was racially motivated, yeah. And considering in the United States we have a history of racially motivated killings of black people, then yeah, I think that's a trend to watch out for. I think that's fair.
And the victim is white. It's going to be about guns and systemic racism and dispossession. If the shooter is Muslim and the victim is gay, then it's going to be about Christian bigotry, which is exactly what happened in the Orlando Pulse nightclub shooting. If the shooter is Asian, then the victims are white.
Wait a minute. Go back for a second.
Systemic racism and dispossession. If the shooter is Muslim and the victim is gay, then it's going to be about Christian bigotry, which is exactly what happened in the Orlando Pulse nightclub shooting.
If I remember correctly, the Pulse nightclub shooting, the guy was Muslim. He was like fundamentalist or whatever. Which, yeah, that would be that would be a hate crime. Yep.
If the shooter is Asian and the victims are white, as happened at Virginia Tech, then we're going to be talking about gun control. If the shooter is trans and the victim is gay, as we'll discuss in a moment, we're going to be talking about guns.
Can you imagine can you imagine when talking about the deaths of 3 children and 3 faculty members of a school, and you descend upon a bunch of let's be honest here, these are formulas for narrative building. Like why would you be like, who's interested in this? Why does any of this matter? In this case, I cannot imagine why any of this matters, unless, again, your goal is to get in front of the narrative and try to spin it in the way that you're more interested in.
And maybe about the virulent oppression of trans people in the United States. If the shooter is trans and the victims are Christian, then it's going to be about guns and about Christian bigotry, which is the narrative that the media are taking away from this particular shooting, which is absolutely insane. Because, again, the details that have emerged suggest that the shooter, a former student, identified as a trans man. Apparently, this person also left...
What is this? Despite 3 9-year-olds being gunned down by a transgender shooter at a private Christian school in Nashville, activists are still rallying the troops to protest for it. Oh, I tried to look at this article. It wouldn't let me because they wanted me to turn my ad blocker off, which I was not going to do. Trans Day of Vengeance, months after raising money for firearms training. Okay. Free time, are you opposed to this? I thought you were a libertarian. Do people not have the right to own and train with firearms now? Is that a thing? Why would there be any day of vengeance? I don't know, because that's the word that they chose. You're allowed. I believe this is going to be where I fall on free speech You're allowed to do that. Unfortunately, they can own guns and such, but why Day of Vengeance? Marketing. That's why. Because there are people who are upset. Like, I don't agree with it. It's like dumb framing, but they have a right to. The same way, there's a lot of protests by, well, quite frankly, there's a lot of protests by 3%ers, by, Proud Boys, all the rest, where they bring firearms to protests. They have a right to do so as long as they're not violent. I don't think that that's wise, and I do think that there's a reason why they bring those firearms, but under the laws that we have, they do have a right to do that. The same way trans people have a right to do that. What they call the event is pretty irrelevant. Again, First Amendment rights. If they wanted to call it Trans Day of Vendetta, it doesn't really hold water for me. I don't really care. They have a right to do. They have a right to call whatever thing they want. As long as they don't act violently, then, doesn't really matter. Are they enacting vengeance on anyone specifically? Are they shooting anyone? If so, that's illegal. Well, yeah, it would be if that ends up happening. Yeah, we'll know in a couple days. The rally's on the 1st. If not, what's the vengeance they're doing? They can peacefully protest. I mean, you can protest in a vengeful manner if you're angry. Again, let's say peacefully protest a vengeance. They're taking it again. Yeah, it's marketing. It's literally just marketing. It's a way to catch eyes and get the attention of people.
A manifesto. Here's the Nashville police chief confirming that the shooter was in fact a trans man, meaning a biological woman, and saying that there is a manifesto that sort of speaks to the politics of the shooting.
Oh.
She identify as transgender.
She does identify as transgender, yes.
My dude had to think about that for a bit. He was like, wait a minute. So, obviously Ben Shapiro is very concerned, obviously very interested in the narratives, I want to take a look at the Club Q shooting, kind of see how he approached that one.
Over the weekend, as a gunman killed 5 people and injured 25 at a gay nightclub in Colorado Springs, Colorado. According to the Washington Post, at least 5 people were killed, 25 were injured after a man with a rifle walked into an LGBTQ nightclub here and opened fire, according to law enforcement officials who credited 1 or more clubgoers with subduing the shooter before more people were hurt. The FBI is assisting with the investigation, which officials said is in its early stages. As of Sunday morning, local and federal officials were trying to piece together details about the attack, including what may have led the gunman to the club, the suspect's criminal history, and how the shooter came to possess the weapon the officials say was used in...
Is he actually reading something on this laptop? This laptop's black as the night. Maybe it's just, it's got like a screen protector on it.
The attack charges will probably include first-degree murder, of course.
Or maybe they blacked it out. That kind of looks like it's...
Around 11:57 p.m. Saturday, police received a call about a shooting at Club Q on North Cackle. The gunman inside the club had followed to the letter. A person with the same name was threatening to hurt her with a homemade bomb. And once again, we have the specter of a probably insane person committing a mass murder. The question is how this person got his hands on weaponry, why this person wasn't under psychiatric evaluation.
Lax gun laws.
Known to law enforcement is what we are learning.
Not enough mental health.
Again, a common thread among mass shooters.
Systems,
they threaten members of their own family.
Infrastructure, I should say. Mental health infrastructure.
Also in Parkland. The pattern here, obviously, is person with significant violent tendencies known to law enforcement who has threatened members of his own family. That's a good place to start when you're looking for trying to screen out possible shooters.
You know what would help in this case? Red flag laws.
Now, this has not prevented the entire political and media left from...
You see, it's always the same playbook.
Immediately determining.
It's always the same playbook.
Probably a conservative Christian who just randomly decided to get up from a church and go murder a bunch of gay people at a gay club.
Defense.
If you oppose same-sex marriage, or if you don't like Drag Queen Story Hour, or if you think that children should not be indoctrinated into radical gender ideology or into the alternative
radical
lifestyle
if only gender ideology was radical,
equally meritorious. That if you're a person who believes, in other words, in traditional social values, this means that you bear responsibility for a whack job murdering gay people at a nightclub. This is the going line today. President Biden said in a statement Sunday, although the motive is not yet clear, we know gun violence has a particular impact on LGBTQI+ communities across our nation, which is a weird...
Which it does, by the way. That specific group, I believe, is like 4 times more likely to be victims of assault. And I don't remember if the statistic was with a deadly weapon, but certainly violent assault.
Statement, because the truth is that LGBTQI+ people are traditionally not as gun owning as, for example, more traditionally minded Americans. But okay, so we must address this public health
traditionally minded
Americans.
Americans.
Forms,
That's
must drive
conservative.
out the inequities that contribute to violence against
Republican
LGBTQI+
voters.
people. I don't even know what that
Where's
means.
there it is.
The inequities that contribute to violence against like what? We're gonna give tax rebates to people, and this is somehow going to prevent insane mass shooters from murdering gay and lesbian people at a nightclub. But this is the line. The line that is going here is that if you really wish to prevent violence against gay clubs, this means you have to support every element of the progressive agenda, or you are complicit. And this is a game that only gets played by one side of the political aisle.
Ah, yes.
Again and again and again, we see in public life, when there is a threat against a person of the right, when there is an attack by a member of a left-wing organization or an intersectional identity associated with the left,
Right.
someone else, that we don't tie that to a broader ideology. We don't attempt to suggest that it's the fault of everyone who has general beliefs in a broader social system.
Interesting, no? What Ben is kind of like talking about is like, oh, well, you know, if there was a left-wing shooter, we wouldn't be trying to tie it to a specific ideology that, you know, we wouldn't be able to do. And yet, isn't that not what we hear like what we've heard since the Nashville shooting from Tucker Carlson, from right-wing media broadly, is that the shooter is somehow, you know, motivated by their identity as a trans person to have committed, you know, the mass killing that they did. Interesting that. Again, Ben, I think, I don't know if he's naive or he doesn't really know the people who's on his side, but you know, keep that in mind. Let's play that one more time.
It's the fault of everyone who has general with the left against someone else, that we don't tie that to a broader ideology. We don't attempt to suggest that it's the fault of everyone who has general beliefs in a broader social system. Instead, we say, well, that's an individual and he believes an extreme thing, and that person ought to be ostracized, obviously. But when it comes to the right, then the idea is that if a person who we don't even know.
So keep that in mind. We're not tying this to an entire group. Where is it? Luckily, Matt Walsh never deletes his tweets. There we go. This was earlier today. The fact of the matter is that the greatest threat to a trans person's life is a trans person himself. A trans person is way more likely to kill himself than be killed by someone else. The suicide rate astronomical. No. That's not the tweet I want. Even though, what's it called? There is a reason for that. It's because of people like Matt Walsh, actually. Where's his, I said the movement is the greatest evil. The movement to deny basic truth and butchering of children is because the butchering children meme. Love it. Where's the one? On my speech at Washington Lee University due to threats. Good. I don't care. Fuck him. Giving total number of Where is it? No problem with trans students because. Here we go. The left says there is no problem of trans mass shooters because there have only been a quote handful. I would love for him to point me to the other ones, the other examples. That'd be great. But they also say there's an epidemic of anti-trans murders amounting to a genocide. No, it's more leading to a genocide. Man, holy shit! If this doesn't give you fucking what's it called? Fucking like Goebbels vibes. I don't know what does. This is what? No, not Katie Hobbs. Where's his big one from? Let's see. Pathetic leech? No. Desperate, but of course. Plenty. No. Where is the one I'm looking for? I should really start retweeting some of these so they show up a little bit faster on the 20. Oh my god, Matt Walsh spends a lot of time on Twitter. Like, holy shit. Oh, here we go. This is the one I was looking for. I came to the conclusion years ago that the trans movement is the greatest evil our country faces. I only become more and more sure of this fact with each passing day, and the more and more determined I am to oppose it until my last breath. Yep.
In a broader social system, an intersectional identity associated with the left against someone else, that we don't tie that to a broader ideology. We don't attempt to suggest that it's the fault of everyone who has general beliefs in a broader social system. Instead, we say, well, that's an individual and he believes an extreme thing, and that person ought to be ostracized, obviously. But when it comes to the right, then the idea is that if a person who we don't even know what his views are on any of this stuff yet, even if it turns out this person has a manifesto that is wildly, horrifically anti-gay, for example, does that mean that everybody who believes that same-sex marriage is wrong, a societally approved same-sex marriage is wrong?
Let's be really clear, Ben. It means that they're in your camp. You can say, like, you don't like them, you don't support, whatever, you can say that. But understand, this is the crowd that you run with, my friend. Like, this is the case where it's like, whoa. I'm just anti-gay marriage. Just because somebody in my, like, group or whatever went out and shot some people doesn't mean, like, you know, that I support that. To which it's like, sure, that, you know, that is true, but you're not really going out of your way to denounce that, are you? Are you more interested in, you know, again, doing the, oh, well, maybe they're non-binary, maybe we don't know, you know, when it's, they write a manifesto, maybe it has something to do with us, maybe it doesn't, who knows, we don't know, we can't be sure. You know, it's all this stuff. But yeah, either way, I just, Anyway, let's see, we don't have too, oh, actually, no, let's go over the thing that, let's go over this really quick, because, oh my God, so much Tucker today. Ugh, okay, fine. Don't. So why it didn't start? I don't. Okay, let's go over this really quickly. Trans Day of Vengeance. Let's hear about it from some real hard-hitting journalists here.
A lot going on the, it's not even clear whether it's fair to call it the left, but the true extremist fringe in this country.
The right wing, yes.
Of course, but the extremist trans fringe is a lot more threatening than most people understand. Andy Ngo has been covering Antifa for years now. He's the author of Unmasked, Inside
yes.
Radical Plan to Destroy Democracy. He's a senior editor at Post Millennial. He joins us tonight. Andy, thanks so much.
I've never seen this guy. Oh, wow.
So again,
that's what this dude looks like?
Here, but
interesting.
There is an extremist movement, obviously. It's very evident online in the aftermath of this mass murder. Are you surprised to see it?
Mm-hmm.
No. So in my reporting on Antifa for years now, one observation.
Media grossly imply Tennessee's ban on child mutilation justifies transgender. Wait, what? Who in the media is implying that it justified? It's an explanation. I think I had somebody on where they mentioned, well, wouldn't all these anti-trans laws motivate them to commit like this or that, you know, commit their massacre? To which my answer was pretty obvious, which was, yeah, that's absolutely a factor. Like, clearly, that's something that could have happened. Now, is it? We need to find that out. But would that be a motivating factor? Yeah, and that's called a disproportionate response. Like, yeah.
That I noticed was that disproportionately the number of riot arrestees are gender diverse, and by that I mean they don't identify with their biological sex. On some nights, it was as high as 20%, and that is magnitudes higher than what the data we have on people in the...
So you're telling me the incredibly right-wing, historically right-wing police arrest more left-wing protesters than they do right-wing protesters?
Out of Canada, you can...
Wow. Would have never thought.
That shows that there's evidence that young transgender people are particularly vulnerable to violent radicalization. And in my reporting on left-wing extremism, for months now...
Can I just say, this person is, like, fucking exceptionally uncharismatic.
I've documented and tracked this surge in violent rhetoric by self-identified trans militant activists, particularly on Twitter, in response to various states restricting or banning the medical.
I need to know more about the
transitioning
drugs we're pumping
minors. As you
into young
mentioned earlier,
adults.
the horrific murder of children and staff at the Christian school yesterday does come just days ahead of a so-called Trans Day of Vengeance that's being organized in the U.S. Capitol. And unfortunately, myself and other people who have reported on this and posted this flyer, which, by the way, that group is still online. If you posted the flyer, regardless of the context, you're locked out of your account. So currently, I cannot access my Twitter.
Can I ask you?
Wow, Elon, what the fuck?
Macro question. So one of the reasons that so many well-meaning middle-aged moms in this country have bought into support of the trans community is on the basis of the promise that it's liberation and this is kids, when they finally express their true inner identity, will be happier and better adjusted. But the incidence of violence and mental illness seems to be extraordinary. So it doesn't seem like people are being...
What? Wait. What are the instances of violence? Again, okay. Do I need to bring in the chart that I showed in the video? The crime rate for trans individuals, rather low. The victimization rate, on the other hand, not so low. I'm not sure where they get this from.
It seems like people are being tormented and driven to the brink of insanity. That, just watching, that seems clear.
It's the exact opposite of liberation. We have mountains of evidence that people who suffer from gender dysphoria also suffer from very high rates of mental health comorbidities. When you have this reality,
I love the phrase comorbidities. I don't know why.
Fed cross-sex hormones and are also being in an environment where they are encouraged to have a violent hatred of wider society. And you can see this in the reaction before, during, and after this killing.
Okay, so there was like nothing here. Okay, so we're gonna address the Trans Day of Vengeance thing very briefly, and then I gotta ski-daddle because got stuff to do tomorrow. Gotta wake up early. But let's there it is. Let's do this really quickly, shall we? All right. Open new image. Boom. All right. We're going to do this is going to be rapid fire. Super quick. Two things. One. Actually, sorry. Let me get in position here to do this really quickly. All right. One. Should people bring guns to this specific event? Probably not. The same way I do not advocate people bringing firearms to any protest location. Two. Does the phrase Trans Day of Vengeance really matter? No, it does not. Unfortunately, for most for anybody who's triggered by this, this is a case where we need to look to our First Amendment right. They can write whatever the fuck they want on the flyer. They can call it whatever they want. Like, sorry, you're just gonna have to deal with that. Free Time was a bit upset by it. Asking the question of what are they enacting vengeance on? Well, probably because there's been multiple anti-LGBT, specifically anti-trans laws passed in multiple states, along with the revocation of Roe v. Wade. Since they're meeting at the I believe they're meeting at SCOTUS is what I saw. I don't think it says it on here specifically, but I believe it's like meet at SCOTUS is what the tweet says. It seems like they're going to go protest in front of the Supreme Court, and that's about it. This is going to happen on Sunday, I believe. That'll be Saturday, won't it? This will be happening on Saturday. That's right. So we'll get to see. If it's violent, then that's kind of a problem. But the fact that, this whole thing, it says the word vengeance on it, doesn't really mean much. The fact that the actual group, i.e. trans people as a community, as a demographic, do not seem to show a propensity of violence, that also doesn't really tell me that we need to be worried about it. And considering, again, some people looked at the fact that they were doing firearms training and that the group that was putting on this event was hosting firearms training, to which my simple response to that is Second Amendment rights, guys. You're allowed to train with firearms. I don't know what to tell you. You're like, the laws are what they are now. They're abiding by the laws that we have now. I want some more restricted laws, but under the laws we have now, they're abiding by them. So yeah, there's nothing there. I don't know why we have to have a conversation about it. It's not really that interesting to me. It kind of just seems like something that, you know, even if you did Conservative Day of Vengeance, I'd be like, sure, whatever. They're like, I don't have to like it, but they're allowed. You know, you're allowed to host events even with aggressive sounding names. That's that is protected under our free speech laws, which I hold a lot dearer than Second Amendment law. My Second Amendment rights. Second Amendment rights are, I find people get really, like, there's a reason why they're the Second Amendment and then we have the first one. I think your right to free speech is a lot more sacred than your right to own firearms or whatever. But either way. Okay, it's been a day. It's been a long one. All right. Do we have anything? Ooh, okay. So do I have anything from? I don't think so. I don't think I have any notes for Monday. Monday it'll be a new week. We'll find out if Trump got locked up or whatever. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But anyway, yeah, either way, I don't think I have any more topics for the night. And like I said, I have to run. So yeah. If you enjoyed any of what you watched, if you were hanging out, lurking in chat, you know, appreciate you. If you're, you know, if you learned anything, gleaned anything, you know, just were entertained, got some catharsis out of any of this, I implore you, if you're on Twitch, to go on down and hit that follow button. It really helps out the channel. And if you're on YouTube, to go and hit the subscribe button. It also really helps the channel out and helps kind of, you know, get the ball rolling a little bit more. I know I've been gone a little bit lately between, you know, being busy and being sick. But, you know, back to the old, you know, the nose to the grindstone sort of business. But either way, that's going to be it from me tonight. I'm going to move this over to here so I can transition immediately. You all have a lovely night. I'll see you all Monday. And, yeah, goodbye.